But it's, again, it just tells the story of it's the evil and the ugliness of people's hearts these days is everywhere.
This is Franky Rose's Think Tank. Here's your host, Franky Rose.
Hey guys, welcome to the Think Tank. So we're taking a break from the Michelle Troconis trial, and today we're going to watch at least the morning of the Treehouse case. So this is where Franklin Tyrone Tucker says he is being falsely accused for deleting a man during a robbery. So he is defending himself. And I was looking at some stuff before we started this live, and he was on the stand, I guess, interviewing himself. He was basically just giving a narration. It was rather interesting. And then I seen that the prosecutors were taking their shot at him. So I don't know if they're going to continue with that today or if that finished up yesterday, but we'll have to check it out. So we're just waiting for the courtroom to open up. So the treehouse, now it's not an actual treehouse. It's on top of some kind of trailer. And I don't know, it looks almost to me like, you know, when you're a kid and you make a fort, it's kind of what it reminds me of. Okay, let's see here. I hope I didn't get rid of them all. I may have gotten rid of them. Nope, I got this one. So this is the treehouse. And this is how you would get up to the top there. So I'm not quite sure yet if, I'm assuming these are marks where the DNA was found. There's also along the road, after they stole the purse, they started dropping money and leaving little tidbits behind them. So there's also those marked on the road, but I don't have anything as far as that goes. I haven't seen any pictures or anything. So this is Tyrone. He goes by Ty Tucker. And the other two accomplices, one was the driver, and I believe that's the guy in the middle, and the other one was allegedly the accomplice going into this Paula's house to rob her. They're saying that they had heard that there was money in her purse, large amounts of money, and these guys just decided they were going to go in and rob her. And while this was happening, she did get injured on the neck. And as the guys were taking off and trying to get out of there, allegedly the owner of the trailer was coming up the steps to see what was going on. And this is when he was deleted. So it's definitely interesting. I mean, to see him, he's actually doing a better job than I expected. It's still a little bit of an ish show, but I was wondering if we had another Daryl Brooks, and I'm not saying we don't, but not as bad, at least. I don't know at this point if he's innocent or if he's guilty. I'm undecided, but we'll follow along today and see what we can figure out. He's kind of a character on his own. He was bailed out, is that what it would be, on a $2 million bond. A girl he knew from childhood bonded him out for $2 million, and she's loaded to the gills. So let me just get rid of this stuff. My alarm clock wants to. I don't know why I even have that thing set. I don't use it. So let's see here. I'm going to do a members live later, so join me there. I want to go over some more about, cases that everybody's interested in and just get some ideas. So if you're not a member, join us. And if you are, don't miss it, and we can just kind of chit chat a little bit. So yeah, the treehouse. There's a little bit of movement down there, but in the court, but there is no sign of the judge yet. It's just still staring at the courthouse emblem. So have you guys been watching on the regular this case? Does anybody have any opinions? I'd love to know. I wonder, maybe I will. Because it's not going to be that much longer. And I'm going to let me just do some poking around here. Tyrone. Now I do have, I think these are his. 2 counts of with a weapon, 1 count tampering with first-degree felony proceeding, 2 counts to commit second-degree felony wearing a mask, 1 count, I don't know what these, it's 948.06, I'm not sure what these means. 3 counts, person uses a deadly weapon, 1 count, M, not premeditated during a specific felony. Okay, here we go. I'm going to be curious. Does he go back onto the stand?
So we're here in State versus Franklin Tucker.
Can you hear everything okay, guys?
Here, Mr. Tucker, prosecutors 17 CF 841. We decided that we would have a charge conference this morning. State had presented its proposed jury instructions to the defendant.
Hey, Melissa, good morning.
Yesterday afternoon, he asked for time to review and consult, which
You hear this?
so here we are. Basically, the way I do it, unless somebody has some other suggestion, is to again cross-reference.
Must be the courthouse.
Florida Standard Jury Instruction Book to go through these in the order that they're laid out and ascertain if there's any objections. I'm not going to ask look at an instruction any objection. If the defendant has one, you can just raise it. We'll also entertain any requests for some special or additional instructions. So similarly with the verdict form when we get to that. So at the beginning of the closings,
we're there.
7, the closing argument instruction standard. If both the state and the defendant have now rested their case, the attorneys now will present their final arguments. Please remember that what the attorneys say is not evidence or your instruction on the law. However, do listen closely to their arguments. They are intended to aid you in understanding the case. Each side will have equal time, but the state is entitled to divide this time between an opening argument and a rebuttal argument after the defense has given its closing argument. So that's standard, and that would be given when the closing arguments begin. So then the first one I see on this stack is 3.1, Introduction to Final Instructions. Again, that's standard. So just out of curiosity, for purposes of the verdict form, even though we've got an indictment and information, they're all combined in these instructions. The felony murder would be count 1, yes, sir. Robbery, count 2, ag assault, count 3, battery, count 4. That is correct. That's the way I think it would be proper to arrange it. So again, this might be a matter of form, but in my statement of the charge, 3.2, bracket in the beginning of line 2, next to the small c from the word crimes.
Judge, I put after, I think what the court is referring to is I put just a blank copy of the actual instructions with respect to each crime. But if you look at the statement of the charge, I don't know if the court's, I leave it up to the court's discretion. It says Franklin Tyrone Tucker, the defendant in this case, has been accused, and I actually delineate the crimes. I think I should have taken out that bracket, Judge, so I can correct that. Crimes of first.
Hey, American, how you doing? Did you fill up the Discord with your tunes?
Is that what the court's asking, Judge?
Well, I was asking about the bracket.
I think that's a type. I'll correct it.
I just get.
So it looks
very
like final
sensitive
arguments,
about
guys.
Any little mark that could be
He
construed
did. I
by a
watched that
juror
this
as some
morning.
subtle
I
message.
watched
or
that this
indication
morning. Can you
or
imagine?
Trying to draw
Maybe we'll take a look at
attention.
that
So-
later.
And then the next question I have, like, I've seen it done both ways. Like in count 1, the defendant has been accused of the crime of first-degree felony murder, and we go through all that. Then we have another statement of the charge.
You just can't make
in
this
count
dish
2.
up.
So you've lumped them together. I'm not saying that's wrong. I think that's what you were asking me, if I wanted them
I don't think the jury's into this in this part here. I think
separated
they're
out
just
or
figuring
lumped
out
together.
perimeters of the closing arguments.
Has an objection to rely on the court's discretion, Judge, however you think it should be. I don't know if Mr. Tucker has any preference.
Tucker, do you have any input on that
Tucker?
issue? Reference 3.2 statement of the charge. As it stands right now, they are all put in one instruction.
Do you want me to put them in there, Tony? Do you mind? I can do that for you.
That they can be separately delineated. I don't think it's a matter of substance. I think it's a matter of form, but.
You said 3.2, right, Your Honor?
Yeah, statement of the charge.
Okay, just checking because.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm trying to keep up here.
Yeah, well, you should have a copy
I do.
of, oh, okay,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt. It's
that's
just,
all right.
I just want to make sure.
Okay.
We're keeping up here because I was looking at some things. In my
I'll do that.
But I'm okay.
And then do you mind if we play some during breaks every once in a while? You might as well get your music out there. Give you shout outs.
Okay, there's 3.
You're awesome.
It's 3.2. Statement of the charge. He's first-degree felony murder, robbery with a deadly weapon while masked, aggravated assault while masked, and battery while masked. I believe those are the charges I am
Okay,
facing.
Thank you, thank you.
See where that's a problem.
okay.
Yeah, we were jamming to your music yesterday. It was like, nice.
7.1, introduction to homicide.
You're a
Again,
talented
this is
man.
standard instruction. Only problem that I see are these things in parentheses and brackets where the, like on line 8, parentheses, crime charged, end of that line, brackets, or third-degree murder. I mean, I don't think those parentheses and brackets belong there. They're like instructions to the drafter, I think.
Every time you put something on your channel, if you want, if you don't mind, actually, I'll pop it over to Discord.
I don't think that I don't think the crime charge or third-degree
I
murder
bet you do great Aussie.
belongs there. So
So are we in agreement that that entire paragraph should come out?
the entire paragraph?
If you find that Matthew B. Bonnett was killed by Franklin Tyrone Tucker, you will then consider the circumstance surrounding
Okay.
the killing.
Awesome.
First-degree murder or
Check out
second-degree
Tony's
murder,
place, you guys.
manslaughter.
Well worth the stop. Oh, did you? Okay, nice.
So we'll take out the crime charge and we'll just leave in first degree murder, second degree murder.
Well, okay, are there going to be lesser included, or is it just or is this just standard that has to be included?
There's a separate instruction, Judge, where I included the category 1 lessers, which I think are required by law.
Well, they're not required unless somebody asks for them. I mean, they're.
I included them as a caution. I think you know what Mr. Tucker's position is with respect to that.
Well, either side can request lessers. I don't think there's any mandatory ones, but I think like second is a level 1, category 1 lesser, which means if it's requested, it has to be given. So either the state can seek lessers or the defense can seek lessers.
Your Honor, if I might.
Yes, sir.
Because this might clear up some of it too, I guess. I don't know, this may be a stupid thing, but I think it confuses the jury when you're putting on charges here, or lesser charges like the justifiable homicide, excusable homicide, all that stuff. When you're putting all this in here, it really confuses the issue for the jury. I mean, that's what I would believe. And you know, it's like you're not going to give me justifiable homicide. You're not going to give me excusable homicide. That's not going to happen. You know, if they find me guilty of felony murder, it's felony murder.
I understand.
You know, so I just think you're making this big packet of something that is actually very simple.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, you and many other legal commentaries and lawyers feel the same way. But the Supreme Court basically says this is the standard instruction. This is what you should give. So I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I believe it's mandatory, like justifiable homicide, excusable homicide. Those are, in my view, maybe not required by law, but highly recommended by the Florida Supreme Court as part of that homicide instruction. So I'm not going to strike them.
No, I would like to keep the issues as simple as possible for the jury to understand.
I understand that, and so would I. I don't draft jury instructions. I'm not on the jury instruction committee, but I do adhere to what the Supreme Court decides. So unless the state wants to weigh in here, to me, the justifiable homicide and the excusable homicide are part of the standard instruction, which must. So go ahead.
I just put them into Discord on your channel in there, Tony, so they are there now.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Was killed by Franklin Tyrone Tucker. You will then consider the circumstances surrounding the killing and deciding if the killing was.
Yeah,
Make sure it's
I have to agree. But you know what? I don't know. Does he have any kind of plan?
excusable or result from a justifiable.
Are they making sure his closing
Yeah, I don't
statements
even-
is
I don't
going
even
to
think
be
you need
legal?
the crime charge.
Usually, I think this happens regardless between the lawyers when they're
That's
setting
true.
their
The parentheses
closing
crime
argument.
charge, that's going to be removed. That's
Okay,
just
good.
Scrivener's notes, drafter's notes, or third-degree murder. But
But the actual delineated crimes would be first-degree felony murder.
Right.
Second-degree murder. Yeah. Okay.
all right,
Just want to keep it simple.
okay.
So the link for Tony's Place is in the chat.
Felony murder.
So
first
grab onto
degree,
it.
7.3. (3A), 3B, appears to be.
I was just checking.
I could not listen to Saul anymore, you guys. Like, honestly,
Again,
at the end of the morning session yesterday, I was ready to like
I don't know if I can
implode.
but,
That guy was making me so mad. It was like, okay, I can't even deal with you. There's got to be something more interesting than listening to you, Saul.
Well, we'll get to that.
He's dragging the process out.
certainly, as I
Oh
said
my
earlier,
God,
am
Tony.
Sensitive to anything that's
It,
at all.
you know, the trial's going to last until
different,
sometime next year
in
because
terms
he's
of
such
the
a dick.
type or underlying
Like, serious.
or italics. I'm mindful of that.
Thank you,
But
sir.
I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm on 7.3.
I usually have issues with the
Page
defense
prior to
anyways,
Oh, in
just
fact,
kind of
I'd
the
already gone
tactics.
through that.
I generally have,
Before 7.3.
they're not usually my
Okay, you're
favorite out of
talking
the
about the
courtroom,
quotation marks
but that
around
guy,
dangerous
he's
weapon and great
unbearable.
bodily harm.
Yes.
Good
Okay,
morning,
all right.
Dandy.
I don't know if they have to be there or not.
Well, that's a fair point.
Yeah, I
State,
was done with Saul. Maybe I'll pop in and do the odd thing on them, but I can't watch him every day. Like,
well,
he gives me a migraine, that guy. Can you imagine being married to him?
let's see here.
I'd pile drive him. It's like, oh my God. Was I the only one that he was driving bonkers? Was it just me? Every freaking thing that was getting, oh, gotta look at it. It's a good little look on it. Were you getting driven too? Yeah. Yeah. If I could have gone through this, yes, that's the thing. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Did you chip your salt off of a horse lick or did you buy it from here? Did you? Oh my God, that man.
Yeah, it's the same way in my book.
Yeah.
Quotation marks, dangerous weapon, great bodily.
I mean, this guy's defending himself and he's a hell of a lot more bearable than
Legal
Saul.
terms, and I believe the drafters just
So
wanted
members
to
live later talk
be
about
clear
whatever.
what
And I kind of want to talk to you
those
guys about
terms are. I think that's
different
why there's
things
quotation marks there.
as far as members' lives go and trials.
That one, I don't
Love having your
they're not
opinion.
extraneous marks, but
Like I said, I didn't find fault in here anywhere. I'm just looking at this stuff and I'd like.
I don't think if that's the way they're in the standard, we can just leave that there.
This guy's not doing as bad as I expected.
7.3.
Yeah, I guess some people don't mind a lawyer like that, but he wouldn't have been my lawyer. He would have drove me up the frickin' wall. And I don't know what the jury's going to think of him.
Robbery, so that's being included as the alleged underlying felony at this particular point? Or
Which one does, Tony?
count 2 here. I believe you have to define in felony murder the crime that was the underlying felony wherein the victim was killed. So I believe that's why the robbery is included in this part of the instructions, 15.
Oh, this tie. Yeah, he does. He's got a good voice for radio. You're right. Yeah. Franklin Tyrone Tucker, he goes by Ty.
I'm down to the 1, 2. Oh, the paragraph beginning with the taking. You see that?
Yes.
There's a bracket at the third beginning of the third sentence, and then it ends at the near the end of the 5th sentence.
Yeah, we're just doing closing arguments, Dandy.
I don't believe is appropriate. State
would agree on.
They're just setting the perimeters of their closing arguments, and then they'll bring the jury in. And
Your Honor, I'd
off they
also,
go.
if you, the quotes at the bottom, in the course of committing the robbery, I don't think that's a legal term. I think that's, again, something that accentuates it.
Yeah. No, I have to disagree there. I believe that, again, these are highlighted in the standard instructions because of the fact that in the course of committing, that is in fact the term that, believe it or not.
So yeah, we did. We picked a good
is
day
the
to
subject
check this
of
one out.
Litigation and disputes. You know, does it mean?
I hope
after
Jennifer
flight,
Dulos
for
gets the
instance?
justice that
So
she
there's
deserves.
believe it or not, all sorts of litigation surrounding whether something's in the course of committee. So I'll go and check my standard instructions again, but.
Good morning, Shauna.
Yeah, here it is. They've got it in quotes. So I'm gonna, if it's in the standard, I'm gonna leave.
Judge, the state would respectfully point out at the end of 15.1, the very last sentence, there are brackets included in that, and that should be removed.
An object not designed to inflict bodily harm may be a weapon if it was. Okay, so just remove the brackets. I mean, the phrases within the brackets appear to be appropriate.
Yeah, just remove the state saying, just remove the brackets.
An object not designed to inflict bodily harm may be a weapon if it is used or threatened to be used or intended to be used in a manner likely to cause bodily harm. Okay. All right. So then, again, I hate to nitpick, but on that page, great bodily harm, you see the third paragraph down the page that you referred me to. Look at the third paragraph, great bodily harm.
Oh, my favorite people.
There's a quotation at the end, but not at the beginning. You see that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll add quotation marks there.
Yeah, we got to be consistent. Let me
So yeah, yesterday was interesting. I looked at it beforehand. Tony and I were talking about it, and
the uppercase G.
he basically interviewed himself yesterday, put himself on the stand, and it was like, holy crap, this is really
That's 3.5A. If the defendant helped another person or persons. Again, we've got brackets here. Commit, attempt to commit. So what's
ultimately, like I said, I don't think he did that
actual
bad.
verbiage that state wants to use here? Both. Is it attempt or is it commit or attempt to commit a crime? One or the other or both? 3.5, you see? Are you with me?
Yes, sir. We're looking at it.
Okay.
So we're in agreement.
Yeah.
Will be removed from the first paragraph.
3.5A.
You want both? Yes, Judge.
Yeah.
Judge, we would ask to leave both 1 and 2.
There must be some kind of document that they have to sign that they can't use the excuse that they had improper counsel, like that they have to, if they're going to defend themselves, that they have to be okay with the outcome and not
to commit. So there needs
argue
to
the
be
fact that
or
they
in
did
there,
this.
in my belief. You wouldn't, I think it should, thank you. If the defendant helped another person or persons commit or attempt to commit a crime. So you take away the brackets, insert an or.
Yes, sir.
Defendant is a principal and must be treated as if you have he, she. It should be he, no brackets, take out the she.
Yeah, they're
And then
definitely
we get down to
whittling this down.
paragraph 2, and there's brackets, or the defendant did some act or said
It's
something
true.
that was
Yeah,
intended
Tony.
to and that did incite, cause,
The court does
encourage,
everything they
assist, or
can to
advise the other
discourage
person
people
or
from
persons
defending
to
themselves. They sure
actually
do.
commit or attempt to commit. I believe it's eliminate brackets, insert or between those two unbracketed phrases.
So let's see where are we on the
Again,
24?
some of this may be form over
Oh,
substance.
tomorrow
I believe
Turtle Boy
important.
is in court
Legally
at 9 a.m.
counts.
It is.
3.12D.
We popped in at the right time, Dandy.
All right, first sentence. It looks
So I'll have to see if Turtle Boy
this
is
spelled
streaming.
wrong.
If it is, then we'll do
IA.
that tomorrow
I
morning.
think that's supposed to be IS. You see that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Monday, Alex Murdoch,
Okay,
that hasn't
so
changed.
say count 1 of the indictment. Okay, then Oh, this is interesting. Why do we have 2 periods after?
That's a good
felony
question.
murder there?
I can't imagine too many.
2.
Adam Montgomery starts on February 6th. So we do have some
Mine.
interesting
Yes, sir.
things coming up.
The other thing I find a little bit confusing for this is,
Karen Reed's
get
hearing on the
the felony
15th.
murder charge. The felony murder charge is dependent on the robbery, and
Yep.
it's like, okay, but they're doing it in reverse. The felony murder comes first, and then the robbery comes second. I just think that's a little bit confusing for people.
Well, I understand, but that's kind of the way the standard instructions are organized. So I'm
not, again, I'm not, an expert in any of this, and it's just, I'm just telling you what I think, Your Honor, that's all.
I understand that, and this is the rather tedious, one of the rather tedious aspects of a trial is to review and refine the jury instructions. It used to be years ago that, not that many years ago, the jurors were given verbal instructions only. Now, the jurors get the verbal instructions as well as a copy of the written instructions.
I'm really
So
curious how this is
actually,
going to turn out
will
because he
read
didn't do a bad
what
job.
ultimately is agreed upon.
I mean,
Plus they'll get
he's not a lawyer,
the
but
copy. But we're on 3.12D.
like I said, I
and
expected
this has
Darrell
to be
Brooks. There was
cleared
a
up.
little bit of
So robbery is an essential element of the
a
crime
piss match
charge.
here and there between the prosecution and him, but
Of the indictment,
for the most part,
first
I
degree
mean,
felony murder. Oh,
pretty impressive for a layman.
okay. So there shouldn't be 2 periods after murder.
I would agree, Judge. I've already made the delineations correct.
You should first consider the evidence applicable to
Count 2.
So they're what, going through jury instructions now, I think.
count 2.
Which is robbery.
If you find the crime of count 2 has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find the defendant not guilty on both counts 1 and 2. Okay, so.
What a weird position to be in.
Again, just a matter of form. You have numerals for count 2 and you have a written 1 for count 1. I think they have to be consistent. So it's either we're going to use numbers or we're going to use the word, but count 1 is O-N-E and count 2 is the number 2. So
I will strike the written word 1 and replace it with a new.
okay, I think that's a good idea. Otherwise,
Edward Lawson successfully represented himself in an appeal against a conviction in California. The law he was convicted of violating basically allowed cops to stop anyone in demand ID, even absent of any suspicion of
So
a crime.
presumably, Mr. Tucker, you're aware of lesser includeds, and even though they're not pled in the information by virtue of the language of the charge and the evidence presented, they are crimes which have been included in the definition and which can be substantiated by the evidence. You may request lessers, the state may request lessers. So is the defense requesting lessers?
No, Your Honor. I mean, because I don't think they actually apply here.
Right.
Again, this may be stupid. It's just, I think it's, in order to keep it simple for the jury, it's like, I don't think they're going to find me, guilty of felony manslaughter, manslaughter. I just don't see that happening.
And then Jackie Narciso
Certainly
started to represent himself in a RICO case involving 20 alleged members of the Lucchese family.
So-called all or nothing defense.
And he was successful.
Your position was, I wasn't there, it wasn't me.
Right.
So
I think it just becomes confusing.
I understand that. So then the issue is, as I indicated, either the state or the defense can request lessers.
We're gonna request second degree murder, that's a category 1. So we're not gonna request manslaughter.
Okay.
That's fine, Your Honor. If it's simpler, the better.
I understand, but I do believe, as Mr. Mansfield indicated, that second degree murder is a category 1 lesser. What does that mean? That means that if it's asked, I got to give it.
So I didn't see any with these type of charges, but I'm sure there's got to be
not
some.
proceed with manslaughter.
That is correct.
So we're going
Oh,
to delete
yeah.
manslaughter from 3.4. So now we get to read the 7.1 again, introduction to homicide.
Judge, here's and I did inquire of my colleagues, the prosecutors, Mr. Greenberg, and Mr. Reeves. I know some judges, I'm deferring to the court, some judges like to read introduction to homicide before they read the instruction on second degree murder. It's really, I don't know if you want to regurgitate it again. I don't know what Mr. Tucker's position is. I just put it in there as cautionary in case we needed it, so we would have it.
Well, I don't have a set position on it. If it depends on what the parties want to do, but if you're flexible and, Mr. Tucker says he wants to make it simple, and I don't think it needs to be repeated. They've already got it here once.
That's always been my preference, Judge, but I just, like I said, in an abundance of caution, I just wanted to include it in the package.
I think we're in agreement then, because
Okay.
I would like to get rid
So we'll
of any
remove that from
redundancy.
the
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said I'd like to get rid of any redundancy.
Okay, but again, it's certainly logical for it to be included in the package initially, and then we talk about it, and we agree that 7.1 is not needed. We're taking it out. So then we get to 7.4, second degree murder. That looks pretty straightforward. So then we can take out the next 7.1 because we're not going with manslaughter. We can take out 7.7. And now we come to
That's a lot of time.
robbery with a deadly weapon. Just curious, do you have something in here about a mask?
I don't imagine closing arguments is going to take long with this. I imagine they'll be deliberating today.
Judge, there's an
Nothing better than jury watch.
Later in the instructions says aggravation of felony by wearing a hood, mask, or other device to conceal identity.
Okay, that's part of this instruction, or is just,
That's a separate instruction on itself.
okay. So 15.1 looks like it's subject to the same corrections as it was when it was included in the felony murder instructions, right?
Let's just remove the bracket, I believe.
Bracket.
You guys on the plus side, Dandy?
The beginning of great bodily harm on the second page.
Yes, sir.
The elimination
We're right at 0.
of the brackets at the last paragraph on the second page. It's the same modifications that we discussed for the instruction when it was included in the felony murder instructions. The same things. Aggravation of a robbery by committing an aggravated battery. Haven't seen this instruction too frequently. 3.3C. The principal instruction, 3.5A. All right, we've got the same modifications as we did previously. The elimination of the brackets and the inclusion of our, OR in the first sentence. The elimination of the brackets and the inclusion of or in subparagraph 2, last line. So once you finish making your note, tell me, because I just had a thought.
I'm ready.
If the state is now not asking for manslaughter, don't we need to go back to that initial introduction to homicide instruction
That is correct.
and eliminate that crime? So 7.1, I'm going back here. If you find Matthew Bonnett was killed by Franklin Tyrone Tucker, you will then consider the circumstances surrounding the killing and deciding if the killing was first-degree murder or second-degree murder. You know, the manslaughter is out.
Judge, I think we agreed that it would read first-degree felony.
Right, okay, all right.
Manslaughter.
Yeah, isn't that bizarre?
That's presumably acceptable to the defense.
35 degrees out.
So then we go
And
back to where we
55 in
left off.
Denver, so that's warm,
The
right? Like, that's a nice day.
modifications to 3.5A. Aggravation of robbery by carrying. Okay, somebody already circled the fact that carrying has got a bracket with no G at the top. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Is that what they were just saying?
All right, we've got the same problems with the brackets in line 3 and 4 of paragraph 2. Used, no bracket, or no bracket, threatened to be used, no bracket, or no bracket, attempted to be used, or intended to be used. I think all those phrases are included, but they're not bracketed. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
Then we look at the last paragraph, and it looks like there's a stray bracket in paragraph 3, personally carried. You see that single bracket there?
Yes, sir.
Take that out.
Yes.
3.3E, aggravation of a felony by wearing a hood, mask, or other device to conceal identity. So here's another 3.4. Lesser included, robbery with a weapon and robbery. Oh, man. Okay, so were we requesting lesser included as to the robbery count?
Yes, Judge.
And which ones are being requested?
Just robbery with a weapon and just robbery.
Does the defense have a position on that?
No, Your Honor, other than, same
Yeah.
problems we had before.
I understand. I believe they are the so-called category 1 lessers, and if they're requested, they have to be given. So, once again, we have the whole bracket issue here.
I'll make the same notation.
We include he, not she. Take out the bracket around 4 crimes. Okay, so now we've got 15.1 robbery with the deadly.
I'd rather listen to this than listen to Saul any day.
If it's robbery with a weapon.
Oh my God, that now.
Included wouldn't be deadly weapon. But is it the same instruction otherwise?
Yeah, I was so frustrated with that man by the end of the morning. It was like, thank God I don't drink, because he's enough to make you want to guzzle down a couple bottles of tequila. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, better call Saul, because Saul's a loser.
That's the way, again, the standard jury instructions are.
But I will say, I love that judge.
They say repetition is the key to learning.
He's awesome.
So I understand that. I'm just focused now at the.
I did. Yeah, I did.
To this.
Right, hard pass.
They would agree we have to strike the word deadly, Judge. I have to go back and check.
Well,
I think the rest of it.
I didn't really get into it, but I was a big fan of.
So you're going to
Oh my goodness.
robbery with a weapon, and then you're going to call.
What was it, the offshoot of again? Because I loved that. It was HBO. It was popular.
So you're taking out deadly.
That is correct.
Breaking Bad.
Then we get
Now
down
that's a
to
good show. That's the one I was talking about. I can watch that over and over and over.
Does not require the force, violence,
That
etc.
kid,
And
oh my God.
Taking, there's brackets there that don't belong. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, damn good show. Do you watch a lot of the HBO, Tony?
So then at the second page, the definition of weapon.
Yeah, it
then
started
you
with the
eliminate
Breaking
all
Bad
those
series.
brackets.
I didn't watch that one either, Dandy.
An object not designed?
Yes.
Yes, I've made the proper notation.
So now we're on to robbery.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Going back here, because since we got rid of deadly in the title, there's another section here where it goes, oh, never mind. Okay, because it says the knife was a deadly weapon. I caught that and I don't know.
Where are you looking?
I'm looking at.
Oh, The
very
Sopranos
top
was
of the
pretty
second
awesome
page.
too.
Yeah.
Um,
A deadly weapon.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good
and
point.
Robbery with a deadly weapon is the last statement. I think it would be
There's
robbery
a
with
Western back from the gold panning days. Oh my God. Deadwood. If you haven't seen that, you wanna. It is kick ass.
Well, is there agree to what?
I don't think the state.
Yeah.
The definition
Yeah.
of deadly weapon should be in that instruction.
I just couldn't support the narrative.
Yes, that's true. That should be deleted.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
They're in there doing all the tedious stuff right now.
Right.
Tedious but necessary. Yeah, I like all the, as far as the gangster stuff, I like all the true stuff for the most part.
The brackets.
I like the documentaries on the different guys and what have you.
Judge, we're not gonna ask for
Right.
We're not gonna ask for that. That's
Yeah.
an answer.
Yeah. So hubby,
That's fine with me.
he's got a pretty good sense of humor. He started calling me
Yeah,
Leapy
so then
C.
it would have to be
It was
changed
like,
to
oh my God, I love it.
what whatever the lesser included.
No, I can't do the zombie thing. No, or the vampire thing.
Statement of charge.
So we're gonna take out robbery.
Yeah.
Okay. So wait a minute.
I'm pretty much
Battery.
true crime all the time.
Isn't there an aggravated assault here?
But I do like it every once in a while. HBO puts out a movie that's just awesome.
Aggravated assault is count.
Oh yeah, and other stuff.
I mean,
Just an awesome,
aggravation.
awesome movie.
Very beginning, the state null pros counts 4 and 5, and left the robbery, the ag assault, and the battery. So unless it's in a different place in my packet here, I don't see aggravated assault instruction.
Yes, both good shows. Love them, love them. Goodfellas, Casino. Yeah,
Well, is it in your packet?
absolutely.
No, Judge, it is not in my packet. I'm gonna have to include it.
When I'm not streaming or checking things out online, I'm usually watching true stuff, true crimes on the TV, or I'm catching up on all of the different things that are going on right now. Oh yeah, me too, Tony. I can't think of any that I'm sure there are some I've missed, but I like a lot of the stuff from Australia. Yes, Whitey
I
Bulger.
don't see it.
No, it's not there yet.
So,
Are they done? Denver was literally a ghost town. It was kind of eerie. I bet.
8.2 is the instruction. Prove the crime of aggravated assault. The state must prove the.
Finish
following
this up,
among
guys.
four
Let's get
elements
on
beyond
with
a
the
reasonable
final
doubt.
arguments.
We're gonna have to come up with a proposed, and actually,
I didn't see The Departed.
it's while masked, so.
And I don't like chick flicks. They bother their, I don't get the points of them. Oh, it absolutely did.
Might have to
Yeah.
have a separate finding on the verdict form.
Yes, we do, Judge. Now we do. We do have.
All right, so
We're gonna include aggravated assault in the instructions.
I assume, well, I shouldn't.
Yeah, it
assume,
kinda
because there's
sounds
some
like it.
lesser of that,
We don't want any less. We're not asking for a lesser.
and I'm assuming as to the ag assault that the defense is not asking for a lesser either.
No,
So then we go to the battery.
That's the thing, me either. That's why I'm
8.3.
chit chatting. But yeah, I think that's what they're doing is they're setting up the jury instructions and giving them their options as far as charges, getting all the paperwork ready.
Okay. No lesser included of battery being sought.
Oh, yeah.
Plea of not guilty, reasonable doubt, and burden of proof.
No, I haven't. I don't, I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Weighing the evidence, 3.9.
And if it's a chick flick of any kind, I probably wouldn't even retain it, to be honest.
All right, what about number 1 through 5 are standard benefit. Guys, that belongs. Number 6, inconsistent statement. Number 7, what about convicted of felony or crime of dishonesty?
I think that can come out, but no evidence was presented on any of the witnesses.
I don't know. I mean, wasn't Johnson, didn't he plead to a felony?
Oh, Quentin
And then
Tarantino.
I-
Okay.
It's the only right in this case, so I assume that would
Gunpowder
be the basis
milkshake.
for the inclusion of that. I mean, Mr. Tucker got up there and said he had been in jail, but there was never any impeachment about any convictions of him. But I
You're
do.
right, I was thinking before this crime. that
No,
Johnson testified.
No, I understand, but I'm just
So I think
again
he'll stand.
trying to, consider everything. The conviction was final prior to his testimony, so I believe that would stay.
Judge, do we leave it, has witness been convicted of a felony, question mark? Or do we do we take out the dishonesty part, or we just leave it as is?
I don't recall any evidence of a crime of dishonesty, so again, Mr. Tucker has some input, but what I recall.
Oh,
is
seriously? Okay, that's interesting.
And the convictions in conjunction therewith. So,
Isn't
Mr.
that
Tucker,
something?
did you have input on the inclusion of a crime of dishonesty here?
To be honest, well, I would love to leave it in, Your Honor. I don't think it would be fair to leave it in.
I think you're right, so let me.
I'm bad for
take
movies.
that part out. So then we go, let me review this instruction, the standard, just to be sure.
I mean, unless, Your Honor, because I know Travis, when he took his plea, he took it for robbery. I guess that could be considered a crime of dishonesty. I don't know.
Could.
I just don't
Normally
know.
classified as a violent offense, but
I haven't heard of that one
I
either.
defer to the court.
state have any input here?
It would be opposed. I don't think it'd rise to the level of crime.
Yeah, I think normally, we're talking about stealing, passing bad checks, stealing and stolen property, fraud. I think the felony conviction is what pertains there. So I'm looking here. I don't see any of these others. This is the defense requesting any of the others that are 1 through 10. We've got 8 of them. So
1 through 10. Let's see.
in standard jury instruction 3.9.
Yeah, I see
Reading
that.
the evidence. There is 10 options. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are standard. Then there's 6 through 10 that are optional. Depending upon the evidence, they may or may not pertain. Number 6 pertains. Number 7 has not been included, pressure or threat. I didn't hear any evidence of that. Reputation for dishonesty, truthfulness, I didn't hear any evidence of that. So 7 and 10 have not been included, but everything else has been.
7 and 10. Okay.
Number 7, had any pressure or threat been used against the witness?
Okay, gotcha. And let's see.
Number 10, general reputation. There's been no reputation evidence, so I would agree with the factors that have been included. Just take out the dishonesty. All right.
I agree.
I just added, it's at the very bottom of the categories and
Expert
Discord at the
witnesses.
bottom. I just added a place for movies.
Okay,
And that way, if
the,
we want to recommend
accountable
some, we can
informant
put them in there.
paragraph, that is included appropriately so. Defendant in this case has become a witness. That portion is appropriate. Entirely proper for a lawyer to talk to a witness about
And
what
those,
testimony the witness
oh my God,
did.
questions himself on the stand.
That's okay. All right. So now we're going.
It didn't really go
to
that way,
for
but I mean,
deliberation.
that's kind of what it was.
That is 3.10, 3.10, paragraphs 1, 2,
Yes.
4. Okay, number 7, I don't believe belongs there. Jury's not
Yes.
to discuss any questions that a jury wrote that were not asked by the court. We didn't have any jury questions, so I believe 7 is not applicable. So we renumber 8 is certainly applicable, but that becomes 7. Cautionary instruction, that's appropriate.
I have to go out in the real world today. Blech.
That's 3.12, that's correct. 3.12A, single defendant, multiple counts. Okay, verdict forms.
So the jury's what, just sitting in the back,
It would seem as though
talking about nothing.
we need to take out manslaughter out of this verdict form. It's guilty of first-degree felony murder, guilty of lesser included offense, second-degree murder, not guilty, no manslaughter. Count 2. So, guilty as charged in the information.
What a
Again,
bizarre
maybe
place to be, sitting there with the
but
prosecution, writing out what charges are
it seems
against you.
like the we
What
the
a
jury
bizarre
think
place
the
to be.
defendant guilty as charged in the information offense of robbery is ought to be more to the left. And if you were doing an outline, that
I know. You know what? I
here,
did look
and
this
then
morning and
those
watched a
sub-findings
little
and
bit. I
indented.
watched
Again, that
yesterday
could
and
be
just kind of,
nitpicky, and maybe
he didn't do that bad. I
unnecessary,
mean,
but-
considering, I don't think he
If you
did that
find the
bad.
defendant guilty of robbery, you must then answer the following questions. In the course of committing the robbery, was Franklin Tyrone Tucker in possession of a deadly weapon? Yes.
Again, Your Honor, it seems a little redundant, and again, we're going back to the deadly weapon thing, but I'm like, again, it seems like that could be one line, to me. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, most defense attorneys would say that the no should be included in there, because otherwise the jurors may think they have no option. That's, again, these are fine points, but
Important.
my experience when I have an interrogatory verdict form, we give them a yes, no option, so there's not the suggestion that you don't have a choice.
No, I wasn't, that's not what I was saying, Your Honor. I was literally, it's in the course of committing a robbery, was Franklin Tyrone Tucker in possession of a deadly weapon, and then goes down to 2. In the course of committing a robbery, was Franklin Tyrone Tucker in possession of a weapon. I think we could just do with one of those and yes, no after that. I don't know.
Judge, on the verdict form that I have on count 2, there are two options, one for yes and one for no.
Yeah, I know. And I was responding to Mr. Tucker's query about whether the no was needed, and I said, I believe it is. His point now is that deadly weapon and weapon are redundant, and my response would be that weapon is the lesser included, that you can do a not you, the generic you, can do a robbery with a weapon that's
The
not a
generic
deadly
you.
weapon. You could,
I thought we got rid of the deadly weapon. That's why I was asking.
we did in the lesser included, but it's just a weapon. So the jurors could somehow, I don't know. Again, I'm just talking here and theorizing. They could say, you know what? We don't believe it was a knife. We believe that this club or this
Isn't it
piece of pipe
brutal?
or whatever it was, or this small knife, we don't believe it was a deadly weapon. We think it's a weapon. So that's why, or whatever else.
No, we were talking earlier about that, and I got looking on the internet, and
the states ask it, I've given it. So
I mean, it's happened,
I totally
but
understand. Yes.
so very, very rare. And I
Yes,
couldn't
no.
find one where it was with the M charge. Not that I'm not saying it's not out there. I just didn't see it on my quick search.
all right. So here you do have the ag assault in the verdict form. You just don't have it in the instructions.
And in the very first read, the jury judge will bring the intimidation over.
Well, it's all right. I mean, it's fine. You got to changes. It's fine.
It's not.
It's not a matter of substance. It's
Epic
a very,
fail.
very nitpicky point. We don't need to. We don't need to spend time doing that. So wait a minute. I don't, aggravated assault weapon. I mean, that's a lesser. I thought we weren't going to have any lesser included. So, in the course of committing the aggravated assault was Franklin Tucker in possession of deadly weapon. That's.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know that was.
So
an
this
issue in
one,
that charge, but okay, let's say it is
he won?
possession of a weapon.
Defending himself?
So what does that do for the penalty? Does that change anything? I've just never seen an aggravated assault charge.
I agree, Judge. I think that was a error on my part based on the previous jury instructions that were submitted in, I guess, the Roy Wilson case. I think the only thing that should be included in there was in the course of committing an aggravated assault was Franklin Tyrone Tucker wearing a mask.
That's
Abdul
inherent in the charge
Aswad.
is the deadly weapon. So what I'm suggesting, what the state's agreeing with Mr. Tucker, is to eliminate those special findings under count 3 aggravated assault, taking out the findings
Wow.
of deadly weapon and weapon.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Okay. The mask remains. Count 4 battery.
Isn't that something?
That
So
looks
one.
straightforward. So now I'm not sure why I have all these.
Judge, those are just additional. I don't think those are applicable, to be honest with you.
Okay, but we're missing.
The ag assault.
Remember, we're missing something else too. Submitting the case to the jury. Let's after we do the verdict form. 3.13, submitting case to jury.
That's the standard, so I will include it.
Well, there's some options in that one. So let's go over it. In just a few moments, you'll be taken to the jury room by the bailiff.
Aswad.
Then when we get down to verdict, it should be verdict forms. So
Excuse me, I'm trying to catch up on where are we at this
three,
point?
it's not, it wasn't submitted in the state's package.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's a
That's why I'm having
standard
trouble.
jury instruction 3.13. After I go through all these instructions and I go over the verdict form, then
Welcome, my
I've
Twitter
got to
friends.
hit
Good to see you.
3.13 to explain some practical truths. And so I'm just looking at my instruction book here. Okay, and we're going to.
So they're just going through instructions and getting things set up for the jury after closing arguments.
Phones or any of those types of electronic devices into the jury room. Kindly leave those devices on your seats where they will be guarded by the bailiff. We include that, and I'm going to elaborate and talk about the lockbox. But
Is that already in the standard, Judge, or is that something that I have to include?
what?
What you just read?
It's in the standard about the cell phones. Then, if you need to communicate with me, send a note through the bailiff. If you have voted, do not disclose the actual vote. If you have a question, I will talk with the attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
So then here is a choice.
Yeah, we do.
During
There's
the
a couple
trial,
of them right now joining us.
items were received into evidence as exhibits. You may examine whatever exhibit you think will help you in your deliberations.
I stream
Option A
to
is what
both
I go
YouTube
for.
and to
The
Twitter.
exhibits will be sent into the jury room with you when you.
Usually our guests from Twitter are shy. They don't usually say much, but I do have a way to see who's coming from where. So yeah.
And making them.
Yeah, Planet X. I keep forgetting to call it X.
In closing, let me remind you, so, that part. So it's standard with just those few,
On my side,
identified.
I've got how long the stream has gone,
So
and I've got how many viewers at that time. And then I
we
can
talked about
go over
closing
top of it.
arguments, so
Yeah.
stated ask for up to an
And
hour
it'll
and a
give me the
half, and I
breakdown.
acquiesced. Again, that doesn't mean you have to use it all, but what it does mean is you can't have any more. That's the, when you get an hour and a half too, if you want it. But again, that's the limit. By no means.
Your Honor, are we finished with the jury instructions so far?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was wondering about the stuff that's in italics under the felony murder first degree.
And we talked about that. That's just redundant. We're gonna just exclude.
Just get rid. And then I have one I would like to add if it's, I haven't seen it
Okay,
yet.
what
It's
is
1.6, it's about pro se.
1.6, all right. Pro se defendant. Franklin Tyrone Tucker has the right to be represented by an attorney or to represent himself in this trial, as do all criminal defendants in this country. He has exercised his constitutional right to act as his own attorney. This decision should not affect your consideration of this case. You want that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, he's entitled to it.
No objection.
So the state can prepare that in the same format as. And when would we like to give that? At any particular point in time where you request that be inserted?
No, Your Honor, just that it's in there somewhere.
I know.
That's
I'm
it.
just,
I'm fine.
sometimes.
Hey, Perry,
again,
good to see you.
It matters to some attorneys, people, when it's given. Other times they're ambivalent about that.
Perhaps it should
I
be
think
back
you're
to
right. Have you been
consideration.
keeping up with this pretty good, Perry?
Kind of goes towards that.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Mansfield.
Perry.
That sounds fine.
Back there, so at the very end, the other,
No problem.
again, being it's 1.6, some would suggest it's at the beginning because it's at the beginning of the instructions. So I just want to know.
If that'll keep it simpler for the jury again, 1.6 comes before 3, I get it. So yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, so then,
Okay. Okay.
so at the.
Yesterday, I was watching some of that this morning. What a bizarre day that was.
All right, so 3.1, Introduction to Final Instructions. Members of the jury, I thank you for your attention during this trial. Please pay attention to the instructions I'm about to give you. Then I would go 1.6. Right after that, the explanation that the defendant is acting as his own attorney. That seems logical. Any other?
I know.
Your Honor,
He's
is there
awesome.
anything else that I think needs to be added?
He's
Okay,
awesome. He's always full of good
so
info.
I guess, Mr. Alvarez, you're the point man over there
I am, Judge.
for these instructions of.
From coordinating and being a stickler for all the court's instructions. If we begin closings now, I'm assuming I'll have ample time to make the necessary corrections over the lunch period and have them all ready to go. Is that okay with the court?
It's fine with me. I mean,
Rather than having. an
right, we're not
assistant
gonna, I think it's unwise to put you under the time pressure of hurry up and get this done, and then we have to check it, and these people, the jurors are waiting.
Exactly.
I don't think that's wise nor necessary. What I think would be, we all know what they are. Most of the changes have been cosmetic. So nobody's going to be prejudiced by the fact that the final copy isn't available. So my suggestion would be, we bring in the jury in just a moment. We go into closings. You, as again, whatever internal work assignments, that's your office's business, but whoever's going to do it, work on it. Should be done probably well before closings are finished. When closings are finished, we'll review them, and then we'll instruct the jurors at the appropriate time.
So are they going to do their statements soon, or their closing statements?
Okay, do any of you need to take a quick break before closings?
I
Use
would
the
like to,
restroom or
if that's
whatever?
okay.
Huh?
I would like to, if that's okay.
All right, so I assume the jurors are there.
Yes.
All right, so let's take, and I'll have to figure out about lunch and the like. We'll see how long the closings go. I might give them a stretch break.
Yeah, that's what I'm
at some
following
point in
too.
time, maybe after the defendant's argument, maybe after yours, if I think they need one, but I'll just use my discretion. So let's take a break until 10:25, and we'll bring them in and start with closing.
There we go.
The lunch break? Well, I thought you were going to work on them during closing.
Well, I had intended, Mr. Mansfield was in the first part of the closing.
Oh, yes. Me too. Yeah, me too.
Okay, then I guess I didn't understand what you were saying.
How bizarre is that?
Plan was to.
I did a live on
one of you
both of,
all
well,
make the
Karen Reed,
corrections
I've been doing,
and
trying to do one a
closings,
day.
And then.
And I just
come
did one
back,
on the Chiefs
review 'em,
fans.
and give 'em. But, okay, I mean, we can give the.
Very
jurors
sus.
lunch,
And there's a fifth
and you
person
can,
now that we find out was in that house.
work on the instructions, and we can come back a few minutes early and instruct them after lunch.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a break.
Yeah, taking a break. Yeah, that one is very suspicious. Let me tell you. How do three guys end up unalive in their buddy's backyard after a game? And who is the other person that was in the house? They're now saying there was a fifth person in the house. Do you know anything about that, Dan or Perry? I'm going to, just because it's awesome. I'm going to listen to a little bit of our buddy. So this is our friend Tony. Oh, right? Yeah, this is Tony, guys.
She sits alone at night with her TV. Her favorite bottle by her side. Wondering why she feels so lonely. She needs a love she just can't find. No,
Damn.
no. She wonders what went wrong. You gotta be strong if you wanna sing the song. You gotta carry on.
Oh yeah, it gets you wanting to dance. And sing. You guys don't want to hear me.
Takes a bottle from the shelf. She never thought that's what she'd do. No. And as she stares out at the city lights, she knows that she'll be leaving soon. She wonders what went wrong. You gotta be strong. You
Damn.
wanna sing the song. You gotta carry on.
Nice, Tony. He plays instruments and sings.
What went wrong? What couldn't she hang on? She couldn't wait that long for me to sing my song.
Nice. Woo! So we got that. Might as well listen to tunes. This one's freaking awesome. You're gonna love this, guys.
Darkness falls.
I'm gonna mute out.
It's hard to see what my life has in store for me. Oh, it makes me wanna scream when I'm standing in the pouring rain. I feel like my hands are tied up in these rusty chains. So, yeah. travel my mind for answers you see. The answer tonight that will set me free. You know it makes me wanna scream when I'm standing in the pouring rain. I feel like my hands are tied up in these rusty chains.
This stuff is kick ass, Tony. If you got more, let's do that.
I think of a night when I see red. When the ghost man calls, you wish you were
So is there more on there? I've got 3. Is there more on there that I just...
know it makes me wanna scream when I'm standing in the pouring rain. I feel like my hands are tied up in these rusty chains.
Okay, I got it. So they are in the Tony's Place in our Discord. There this out. Damn. Well done. Well done. Chop, chop, Tony. What a nice way to spend a break, hey? Chop, chop, Tony. Oh, let's hear them. Like, man, oh man, what a nice way to spend our break listening to some rock and roll. Damn. I'm to the point now where I'm like listening to them over and over, and yeah, I'm just way impressed. Nice way to chillax. My son just laughs at me because I said anything that makes your head dance is good. I'm happy. Yeah, just love it. So do I, Perry. Yeah, that's talent. They should be back in any minute, and then it looks like closing arguments. I'm gonna do this again. Broken chains. And I mean, you write this stuff, you sing it, and you play the instruments. Like, how is that for talent? Like, unreal. I got bongo drums. I have no idea what to do with them. So I bang on them when I'm like listening to good music. I'm sure I look like a fool, but it's fun. Yeah, would love to see the older songs too, friend. So what do you think? Closing arguments. This should be interesting. And then jury instructions after lunch, it sounds like. And then verdict watch. I'll be interested to see how long this one takes. Remember during the breaks before, when we were doing streams, we'd watch the Eagles and the Panda Bears? I think I got in trouble for one of the pandas I was showing, I think. Was it the pandas? One of them gave me crap anyways. Here we go. Here we go, guys. Thanks again, Tony.
Okay, we're all back. Of course.
Judge Jones, can I ask a quick question? Do you have the working copy that we've given Your Honor for jury instructions? I might refer to them during my closing, and if I could just use that hard copy, I don't care. I know it's a work in progress, but what I'm going to refer to is not going to change.
Okay, it's fine.
That sounds
Took out,
adorable.
what we said we weren't going to be using.
Remember? Yeah, the pandas. Could drive James nuts. They're so dumb.
Your Honor, I also had a quick question, if you wouldn't mind.
I don't mind.
Actually, I got contacted by pretrial about was it a drug alcohol test for tomorrow? I don't know. Again, it seems kind of, we're in closing arguments. I don't know whether I should be going to that or not.
Don't worry about it.
Okay,
I
thank
will, I will contact pretrial, and it seems to me, and frankly, I basically had said earlier when I don't know if I spoke to Todd or Scott, that you had enough going on during the trial, and I was going to be in your presence quite frequently, that we didn't need to be doing that because frankly, I just wanted to compound your stress.
I know, right?
So
that was so funny.
Contact or have my office contact them. So obviously you can put the podium where you'd like to. Once we start, you can too. So the plan would be to go through the closings, break for lunch, do this. All right. So let's bring in the jurors.
Here we go, guys.
Would you make a note, remind me, so I can tell the that issue? No, I mean, we need to talk. I just want a reminder, that's all. Please.
So we'll do the members live during their lunch break.
Okay, please be seated, everyone. Good morning, ladies, gentlemen of the jury. Nice to see you all this morning. We're here in the case of the state of Florida versus Franklin Tyrone Tucker. As I mentioned to you at the close yesterday, we had some matters that we needed to tend to yesterday afternoon and this morning, and we've done that now. So we're ready for
separated,
ears and attentive minds. Members of the jury, both the state and the defendant have now rested their case. The attorneys now will present their final arguments. Please remember that what the attorneys say is not evidence or your instruction on the law.
Yeah, he sure was
Do listen
all the time.
closely to their arguments that are intended to aid you
He's a
in
player.
understanding the case. Each side will have equal time, but the state is entitled to divide this time between an opening argument and a rebuttal argument after the defense has given its closing argument. So, State, would you like to present a closing argument?
Thank you, Judge.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. First, let me start by saying thank you for your patience and your time. The last couple of weeks feels like a lot longer than that. And for your attention to the case that we presented to you, the case of State of Florida versus Tyrone Tucker. Now, in just a few hours, it's going to be your turn to take all this information back to the deliberation room and start your deliberation in this case. You're going to have to determine what you found to be credible and what you found to be not credible. And you will be the ultimate deciders of what evidence you believe and what evidence you don't believe. Now, I hear this a lot in this courtroom. In life, they say the devil is in the detail. And I
Yes.
think no case embodies that more than the case we just presented to you, because the devil really is in the detail in this case. I submit to you that the most credible evidence that you received was the testimony of John Travis Johnson. That is going to be the most credible evidence that you received in this case. And I believe you will come to that determination because of the detail that is involved in that testimony. Now, you got a chance to meet John Travis Johnson. He came in this courtroom and you met him. He's a pretty simple guy. He's not overly sophisticated. He's obviously struggled since he got out of the military. He's got PTSD issues. He's got some addiction issues. He owned up to all of that. He didn't hide any of that from you. The reason he was in Key West back in 2017, he came here looking for work after the hurricane, and he fell into his old ways, right? He said he met up with some old friends that he used to know out on the beach, started doing drugs with them, started drinking, fell back into his old routine, finds himself living at this warehouse where he makes the acquaintance of this man over here, Tyrone Tucker, and another man, Rory Wilson. And the three of them party together. They party together. And what does that partying involve? Alcohol and drugs. And like all parties, the party ends at some point. They run out of alcohol, they run out of drugs, and they run out of money. So he tells you it's time to figure out a way to get more. So what does he do? What do they do? The three of them get together. Travis told you that Wilson came back from, I believe it was the Burger King, and said, hey, I got some information about this lady over at the treehouse. She's got drugs, she's got money. We need to do a lick. Let's go over there and hit that. John Travis Johnson said to you, he wanted more drugs. He didn't really want to be involved, but he wanted more drugs. Now he's got the truck. They need a ride over there. So it makes sense. It's his truck. He's determined to be the one that's going to drive them over there. What's he getting out of the deal? Gas money, and he gets to smoke the take. Who are the other two players in this scenario? Tucker and Wilson. That's what he told you. That makes sense. Now, they get together. He said, he testified, he didn't know anything about the legal theory of principle theory. You're going to get that instruction that I talked about during jury selection. The principle instruction is going to tell you that it's kind of an all for one, one for all scenario. I'll specifically read the instruction a little bit later here, but I want to stay with John Travis Johnson's testimony first. He said he knew nothing about the principle theory, and he knew nothing about this felony murder theory. So you mean while we're committing a robbery, if somebody ends up getting killed, I could be charged with murder? Yes, sir. It's called felony murder. And that's exactly what happened in this scenario. The three of them hatched this plan to go over to the treehouse. He gives you great detail about how the plan was hatched. They did a drive-by earlier just to kind of case the joint out. And remember, I told you during jury selection, if a crime's committed at the Basilica, you're going to have nuns and
He
priests
just
for
pull
your
up his
witnesses,
pants.
right? Well, the treehouse is no Basilica. All right? The treehouse was a flop house, a drug den in the middle of Stock Island, where people were living in a ramshackle structure with no water, no electricity. And what did they do in that place? Drugs, alcohol. Paula Belmont said prostitution. Who knows? It's not the Basilica. So they get this great lead, right? They're going to go over there and do this robbery. So they case the joint. He drives them over there. Or after they get done with the casing, they go back to the warehouse. Tucker puts on dark clothing. Wilson puts on dark clothing.
Treehouse.
Travis drives them back over. Why should you believe that? It's corroborated. Corroboration is important in this case. That's the detail I'm talking about. Devil in the detail, corroboration. His story, his testimony is evidence. That evidence is corroborated. So he goes over to the treehouse. We saw those videos time and time and time again. You see a flash of the truck first. That's 8 minutes later, I think, 9 minutes later, you see the truck pull up. I'm sorry, I misspoke that. The first drive-by, we didn't
What was
see.
that?
When they go over there to commit the actual crime, they said there was a car out in front of the treehouse.
It
You
does,
see the truck
Tony.
pull all the way through, and it goes around the block. Truck pulls back up, and you see two guys wearing dark clothing head from the truck towards the treehouse. Corroboration of what Travis testified to. It corroborates him. Now, Travis is not a manipulative person. I submit to you
Treehouse
the
looked
manipulative
like
person's this guy over here.
CRAC tent.
That's the master
CK10.
manipulator, not Travis. You saw Travis. He's about as simple as it gets. Travis said he was in the front seat. He saw them go in that gate. A few minutes later, he sees somebody running from the gate. What do we see on the video? Corroboration. Sure enough, we see a man with a flashlight come running out of the gate, up over the hill to CVS. Exactly what Travis said. After that, we see a guy in dark clothing come running from the direction of the treehouse towards the direction where the truck had dropped him off. Consistent with what Travis said happened that night, that he saw Tucker coming out of the treehouse with this bag in his hand, fumbling with it, right? And he sees him running, and he takes off because he's terrified at this point. Now, Travis says he sees Tucker fumbling with the bag. Who does Roger Ragged say grabbed the bag out of the treehouse? The second person. Who does Paula Belmont say grabbed the bag, her purse, her bag, whatever? The second person. That's consistent with what Travis told you. Travis also said that when Captain Phelps kind of figured it out, he knew the jig was up and it was time to pay the piper. And he said, when he saw that, he was shocked. When she laid it out, he was shocked because she had it to a T. Now, she didn't tell him what to say. She laid out the basics of what the investigation had revealed, but Travis filled in all the details about particulars in this plan. Devil in the detail. So, Travis owns up to it. Time to face the music. And he gives his statement back in November of 2017, and he's arrested. And that statement has remained unimpeached to this day. He gave a proffer in 2022. He didn't get a deal until 2022, after he'd been in jail for 4.5 years. That's when the state approached him. Again, we don't pick our witnesses, right? The Basilica one thing, treehouse, another. The state approached him and said, we need your testimony. We believe if you're the getaway driver, you're the least culpable. So we'll work with you. And he agreed. And he came in here and he testified today consistently with every other time he testified. Consistently. That's why he should be believed, because he's credible. Now, because it's important that you understand the nature of his testimony, and because I submit to you the abiding belief in his testimony, we've got a PowerPoint here that we put together to kind of highlight why you should believe Travis Johnson.
No, you can reposition yourself so you're able to view the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
I think it would be preferable if he had a seat there. Well, I think it would be preferable if we can, one of the deputies can help with a seat there, and so.
Yeah.
I just prefer that the person making the argument being the only one.
Exactly. He's pretty smart, American.
Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I did you all a favor. I brought somebody much smarter about these things that was born in a different generation. She will run the computer for me and I will refer to it, okay? So let's talk about Travis's testimony in regards to the sequence of events at the treehouse. Travis says he drove by once, returned, and he parked past the treehouse, and Wilson and Tucker got out and walked towards the treehouse. We see that on the video, the Cosme video. Travis says he saw Wilson and Tucker go through the gate of the treehouse. I'm sorry, I lost my way. About 5 minutes later, a man that we learned was O'Quinn ran from the treehouse towards CVS carrying a flashlight. That man yelled
No
for police.
doubt.
Tucker ran towards Travis's truck, but Travis drove off. Travis said he did not see Rory running towards his truck. What corroborates that testimony? The Cosme video corroborates it. Detective Fernandez, who you heard from, testified he saw a truck in the video. Detective Malone, who testified, said, or gave a detailed description of the events that were observed in the Cosme video. She was able to point out the man running towards CVS with the flashlight. And we also see the man running from the treehouse, who is Franklin Tucker. Now,
But have they proved that it was Franklin Tucker?
Because Wilson was described as somebody who would not be capable of running fast because he's a stocky guy. There was about a minute delay before the second person appeared in the video after Tucker is seen running towards the truck. All corroborating Travis's testimony. And folks, let's remember, Travis says when they got in the truck, Wilson had a club and this defendant had a knife. Now, we find Wilson's DNA on the knife. Obviously, if Travis really wanted to tailor his testimony, he had to switch that around. But he's been adamant that's not what it was. It was this defendant that had a knife in his hand, and Wilson had the club. Well, we know Wilson's DNA ends up on the knife. It was a full-on fracas inside that treehouse. Fists were flying. There's chaos. Roger Raggett told you they were all over the place. Somebody threw him into a tarp. Somebody had him up against a wall or a floor or something. Paula had the guy on top of her. Weapons could have been easily switched around. And those are the only weapons that Travis saw. We don't know if there are other weapons in their pockets. But as far as Travis's testimony towards the sequence of events, it's corroborated by the evidence. Let's go to the next one. The map of the route that they took. Travis testified detailed the route taken for the drive-by and for the robbery. You see the video of Travis's confession. He draws the map during his interview with Detective Pitcher and Phelps. Phelps traced the route along the map that was in the wrong direction. Travis corrects her, and he says no. And Travis showed the correct direction on the map. And remember, Travis's interview was before they showed him the videos from Cosme and the Electric Company. This testimony came before he saw those videos. So he wasn't tailoring his testimony to the videos, hadn't seen them yet. Vanessa, could you play the next one? Here's the portion of his interview where he addresses the map.
So each time you come into this loop, just go straight down 7th Street. Okay.
No, we came.
You sure did.
He corrects her. He's not tailoring it to something he hasn't seen yet. Vanessa, let's go to the next one, please. As far as Travis's testimony about Rory wearing the black shorts and the black long sleeve shirt. In Paula's video deposition, 2 different times she describes the person attacking her. And this is the video that you all saw, the perpetuated testimony you saw this week. Yes, he was wearing the same. He was wearing like a dark blue sweatshirt, shorts, and these like shoe boot, dark black shoe boot things. They were like boot material, but not as high as boots. They were shoes, if that makes sense. Dark blue or black sweatshirt, shorts, and the black shoe things, and a mask, which I didn't realize at first he had a mask on because he jumped right on top of me. Next one. Travis testifies that Rory went into the treehouse to commit the robbery. We see the 2 guys walking from the truck towards the treehouse, and Travis says he saw them entering the gate. Paula identifies, to corroborate that, you can look to Paula's testimony. She identifies Rory back in 2017 as the person attacking her, and she says it again in her
I'm not
deposition
seeing
testimony.
anything
How do you know that was
on
the
Tucker.
person?
Yeah.
I knew who it was immediately just by who he was. I mean, the voice, after hearing the voice, there was no doubt in my mind. He was wearing the same clothes and being at the house earlier. That corroborates Travis's testimony. Travis testifies about Tucker wearing long black pants, black shirt, and black boots. That's what he says Tucker was wearing. Let's look to Paula's video deposition. So did you tell the police that you thought the person might be black because the person was wearing black clothing? Wearing all black, yeah. I guess I just associated, I don't know, I guess I originally thought it was a black guy because he was wearing all black and was told it was a white guy. Ma'am, the person was dressed in all black. That's Paula's testimony, which corroborates Travis's.
No.
Tucker was wearing all
No.
black. That's what Paula identified.
She said,
the
I
second
don't
person
know.
as wearing all black.
I originally thought it was a black guy. Come on. And
Still
so the
talking about
prosecutor,
Travis's testimony about Tucker wearing long black pants, black shirt, and the black boots.
exactly.
Travis's video confession, he was wearing a pair of black pants and a black shirt and one of those, I guess it's called a neck gaiter, one of those hoodie things. Who was wearing the neck gaiter? Tyrone. I guess it's called a neck gaiter, one of those hoodie things. Next one. All right. We know, neck gaiter was never found. We know that. It was not presented to you. But we also saw a booking photo of this defendant. And a regular mask coming down over your head is not going to cover that long goatee. But a neck gaiter would. Devil's in the detail. Why believe Travis? It makes sense. You pull a neck gaiter up, you cover that big goatee. That's why you believe Travis. It makes sense. It's corroborated. Travis testifies about the black hoodie. He testifies Tucker put on a black neck gaiter around his neck when he got ready to go to the treehouse. In Travis's video, again, I guess it's called a neck gaiter, one of those hoodie things. That's corroborated by Paula. Paula says, all I saw was the back of that person. He was a little smaller. He was a littler, smaller, like not as wide, wearing a black hoodie. I just saw the back of them. They had a dark hoodie on, a dark hoodie and all over sweatshirt, hoodie, and dark pants. She's describing Tucker to a T exactly the same way Travis described him. Corroboration. Corroboration. Next one. More about the neck gaiter and that Travis testified to and how it covers Tucker's goatee. Tucker had a black neck gaiter around his neck when he left the warehouse. The word Jägermeister was written all over it. And then Travis showed you how the neck gaiter could be pulled up to hide his neck and face. Again, like I just said, Tucker had this long goatee in 2017. Vanessa, let's play that video. Just right there is fine.
He put on a pair of black pants and black shirt. One of that is, I guess it's called.
Good morning, Chopper.
Okay. Okay, then that being, Tyrone, okay.
He described him to a T. He's got a beard this long. You saw the beard. Neck gaiter covers it up. And this was all done. They didn't tell Travis anything about a Jägermeister neck gaiter. Phelps didn't say anything about that. Those were details that Travis provided to them. They didn't give him his narrative. He gave them his narrative. Tucker's before Travis described them. Next one, Beth, please. All right, here's Travis's testimony about the mask. This is the mask that Wilson had on, the demon mask. Most evil, most horrible demon mask you can basically describe. It's the mask that Wilson was wearing when he came out of the warehouse. Detective Malone testified the mask was found in a boat near the treehouse. Roger Raggett testified the two men were wearing skull masks. Roger Raggett says they had some kind of masks on. It corroborates what Travis was saying. It corroborates what Paula was saying. Vanessa, let's play that video.
Did you see Detroit do anything with like a neck gaiter or anything? I think he had it just looked like a what you could beanie hoodie thing. Okay. And a freaking mask. What the mask look like a demon. Okay. Okay, when you say demon, I see you say, tell me what you got his name. That's sharp teeth. Okay, almost like a dinosaur type. Okay.
He said, it looks like a demon. with sharp
Yeah,
teeth.
that's what he
Don't
said,
remember this
right?
mask, right? Teeth don't get much sharper than they are in this mask. Why believe Travis? The evidence corroborates what he said. He described a demon mask with sharp teeth. Nobody gave him that description. Phelps didn't feed him that.
No doubt.
Nope, those are details that Travis gave. I'm sorry, ladies, thank you. Those are details that Travis gave to them. Those are not details they gave to Travis. The defendant wanted to say that they gave Travis his narrative. No, they didn't. Travis gave his own narrative. Travis gave details on the mask, and it's 100%.
That's what I'm wondering.
identical to the mask he identified here in court.
That's exactly what I'm wondering. There had to have been if someone was wearing it.
Travis testified about the knife that he saw in Tucker's hands. He says Tucker had a knife in his hand. I could see it in his hand. He was carrying it when he came out of the warehouse. When he came out of the warehouse, getting ready to go over to the treehouse for the hit. What corroborates that testimony? We found a knife in a planter box in the yard of a neighbor on November 18th, the day after the murder. This person lived at the Water's Edge trailer park. That's where they testified they found, DeValier testified that's where they found the mask. Water's Edge trailer park.
Isn't that
Direct
interesting?
route from the treehouse to the warehouse.
Isn't that
So they found
interesting?
the knife on the direct route from the treehouse to the warehouse, the knife that Travis described to a T in court and to the
Isn't that
detectives.
interesting?
DeValier identified the photographs of the knife while he was on the stand. That corroborates Travis's testimony. He saw Tucker with a red and black knife with two edges. That's the knife that was found on the path back to the warehouse. Next one. Still talking about the knife. He gave them details of the knife.
That's
Let's play that.
yeah, that's sus.
No, when they got their stuff, when you said they got their stuff, when did they put into the trunk to go do the
Isn't that interesting?
their clothes and gloves? Okay.
I'm glad you're here, Perry. Thank you. Can't even hear what he's saying.
Like the kind you strap to your leg, yeah. Okay. Was it in a sheet or just the knife by itself? In a sheet. Okay. What color was the sheet? Black. Blue, green, yellow, pink, red. All red with like black hair. Can you like the handle, the blade of red and black? Okay.
Can you guys hear them?
Blade was stainless steel, handle was black and red.
That's quite the weapon.
He also has a knife collection. He wasn't hiding that from anybody.
Yeah, I was just done with Saul. When I got to lunch yesterday, I was so pissy with that guy. It was like, yeah, I need to be away from him. Okay, something Travis does.
Corroborates
Okay.
Travis's testimony. And lo and behold, how did Matthew Bonnett die? Stab wounds to his back. What blood was on the knife? The confirmatory blood was Wilson. But the defendant's DNA could neither be included or excluded. And you heard the DNA analyst, just because she can't say it's included or excluded doesn't mean he didn't touch the knife. I think when David held up a pen, does this automatically mean my DNA is on the pen? No, it doesn't automatically mean that. It could. What she said was if there's not enough DNA in the profile for the test, then she can't make a conclusive finding one way or the other. So she never said his DNA wasn't on the knife. She said it was inconclusive. But she was able to conclude Wilson's DNA was on the knife. That knife very easily could be passed around. For all we know, Tucker stabbed Bonnett and Wilson picked the knife up afterwards. Or the other way around, we don't know. And you know what? Under the principal theory and under felony murder, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who wielded the knife in there. We don't have to prove who wielded the knife. Because under principal theory, you're all in it together. Travis is just as guilty of that stabbing sitting in that truck outside. Folks, the principal theory, I always liken it to if 5 guys stomp a person to death. You don't have to prove which stomp actually killed the person. You're all 5 in it. You're all 5 doing it. The person died. Okay? Here, they're all engaged in the commission of this crime. That they all had the intention that crime be committed. We don't have to prove to you who actually stabbed Matthew Bonnett. What we did have to prove to you is that Matthew Bonnett did get stabbed during this altercation, and that those stab wounds caused his death. And I submit to you, we have proven that. But as far as who did the stabbing on the inside, we don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt who did it, because we don't know. Roger Raggett doesn't know, Paula Belmont doesn't know, and Matthew Bonnett's not here to tell us.
I'm finding it interesting, Chopper.
Before we leave that one, Dr. Steckbauer confirmed that it was stab wounds to the back. I think that's pretty much all we need to go from that one. That's fine, Vanessa. We can go to the next one. Thank you. Travis testified about Tucker and Wilson going through the gate of the treehouse. He saw them go in. Paula testified 2 people came up the stairs of the treehouse. Roger testified 2 people came upstairs. Roger testified the second guy was taller and skinnier than the guy attacking Paula. The guy attacking Paula, I think she referred to him at one point in time as a 250-pound gorilla, is what she said. And she said she couldn't see much other than that because he was on top of her. It corroborates.
Well, that's explaining the other guy. Like, holy, this is not good.
How do we know Wilson made it upstairs? Travis saw Tucker and Wilson go into the treehouse. Paula testified the 2 people came up. Roger testified 2 people came up. Paula testified she knew the first guy. She knew him the minute he came up there. He knew him as Detroit. He'd been around the treehouse before. Had a very distinctive voice. Roger said he was familiar with the guy attacking Paula because of his sways. I believe what he was trying to say was swagger. Because of his swagger. He knew the guy's style, walk, the way he moved and talked. He didn't know the guy's name, but he'd just seen him around the treehouse and other places. That corroborates the fact that Wilson was upstairs in the treehouse, which is what Travis said. He saw him go in the gate. Next page, Vanessa. How do we know Tucker was upstairs in the treehouse? Again, Travis saw Tucker go through the gate with Wilson heading into the treehouse.
So what, Travis was all they have?
Roger Raggett, the defendant raised his hand way above his head. Now this guy that was attacking you, would you tell me how tall he is? And Roger Raggett, who I submit to you, you're not going to get that guy to say anything that he doesn't believe in. He said, no, not that high. Bring it down, bring it down. Your height. About your height is what he said. About your height. And when I got up and asked him, did you say the second subject was Tucker's height? Yeah, I just said that. It corroborates what Travis said. The two went in that gate and into the treehouse. Roger Raggett corroborates that testimony. Next one.
Why are they charging a guy if they
Sorry,
have nothing
you're
on him?
anticipating.
Except one
The
guy
snuff can.
one side of
Travis
jail.
testified that when they were all back at the warehouse, Wilson took a snuff can out. It was round, like a Copenhagen snuff jar or can, whatever you want to call it. Took it out of his pocket. And he did this upstairs while they were at the warehouse.
Oh my
corroborates
God.
that? Roger Raggett said the man kept telling Paula, give it up, give me the money and drugs. And Roger told Paula, just give it up. It's not worth getting poked over, was what he testified to. And according to Roger, Paula said, take it. And she pointed to a little container on a little container, and the guy took it. A little container. Consistent with what Travis says Wilson produced back at the warehouse. Devil's in the detail. Travis is telling you the truth. Next page. The backpack belonged to Paula. Travis said he saw Tucker running around the treehouse, fumbling with this backpack, and stuff was spilling out all over the place. He also testified that Tucker showed up at the warehouse with the backpack and emptied the contents out to see what they got. What corroborates that? Well, Detective Malone testified the backpack was found in an air handler closet up in Big Pine, and it had Paula's EBT card in it. She also said the other items in the backpack were hers. They were like women's items, notepads or something else. Why was it up there with Travis? Travis told you. He was unpacking the Foot Locker that this defendant helped him pack when he was leaving the warehouse. Did that Foot Locker ever leave your sight? Yeah, it did. It was never in my exclusive control. How'd you get it out of the warehouse? Tucker helped me. You think Travis is sophisticated enough to make that detail up? Tucker helped me. He gets up to Big Pine. What does he find in the Foot Locker? The backpack. So what does he do? He throws it in the closet. Out of sight, out of mind.
What?
Next one. Contents of the backpack we covered. Travis testified. Women's stuff, feminine effects, pens, notepads, trinkets, stuff to a female. Paula's video, she says, my keys, my jewelry, my perfume, a little pink purse, all women's things that had little witches on it. Detective DeValier testified he found a $100 bill, change, personal items like makeup, items that appeared to be from a woman's purse scattered on the ground outside of the treehouse. That's consistent with what Travis says. I saw him fumbling with the bag and stuff was emptying out of it. What does Detective DeValier find? Women's things that are consistent with what Travis just told you. Why believe Travis? The evidence supports his testimony. It's consistent. Next one. Travis said, I saw Tucker running down the street fumbling with this bag. Paula corroborates that. All I saw that second person doing was I saw him like this through the side of my body because I had someone on top of me. He was grabbing my backpack, opening up my backpack, consistent with what Travis said Tucker was doing when he came out of the treehouse. It supports Travis's testimony. Why believe it? It's corroborated. I'm sorry, but that's next one. Still talking about Travis's testimony about Tucker running down the street.
This is all they have is
Video
this guy, Eddie.
deposition, which you saw. You did. It was your backpack. Is that correct? Yes. And who took it from you? The other person, not Rory. She'd identified Rory as the one on top of her. No, ma'am. It was the white guy. I can't say it was a white guy. I originally thought it was a black guy because he was wearing all black. And I was told it was a white guy. I don't know who took it. I know it wasn't Rory Wilson. Consistent with Travis seeing that Tucker came out of the treehouse fumbling with the bag. Yes, ma'am. Next one. Paul also says, I saw the second man with my backpack and I saw him with the billy club, but I couldn't see Roger because Detroit was blocking my view. And at this point, I remember Paula kept describing this long item. It looks like now she sees a billy club with the man that's with Roger. Roger testified that man had a knife to his throat. We certainly know that something was to his throat. Now, could have been both, could have been one or the other. Doesn't matter. Next one.
It doesn't matter.
Travis testified that the $50 they gave him for the gas money smelled like perfume. That's completely consistent with what Paula said. Travis said it smells like perfume. Paula said, I think I had a brand new bottle of Dare perfume and some other items. And lo and behold, the money that nobody fed Travis that detail.
Was he
Travis covered that
demoted?
detail up his narrative. It wasn't Penny Phelps's narrative.
No, they
Don't be
shouldn't have.
misled by that. It is Travis gave the details. Penny Phelps laid out the basics of what the investigation showed, but Travis filled in these blanks. Next one, please.
How the bills, 20, 10, 5, 23 fives, and fives, okay? And they smelled like perfume, I remember that. And when it smelled like perfume,
Okay, next one.
I agree.
Travis says Tucker was upset with them. That makes sense. Of course he's upset with him. Came running out of the treehouse looking for the getaway car, and the getaway car took off. That shouldn't be hard to understand. Travis gets back to the warehouse. Tucker's mad at him. Travis says, I went for a walk to get cigarettes, just to take a break, walk away from that. You saw the Florida Keys Electric video. You see Travis walking along by himself. And then he comes back after he said he'd run into Rory Wilson. He comes back walking with somebody else. And he says, I ran into Rory Wilson when I went to buy those cigarettes. And that's consistent with what we see in the video. We see him walking to the CVS on his own, or the Tom Thumb, I'm not sure which one they're going to, on his own to get cigarettes. He comes back with somebody walking next to him. And remember, Travis gave this statement before he saw those videos. So he's not tailoring his statement to the videos. He gave that statement before they showed him the videos. When he saw the videos, remember, he said he was shocked that they had him on video. Again, why believe Travis? Devil in the detail. Next one, Vanessa, please. He confessed in November of 2017. He had no deal on the table, no promise, no anything. He's been consistent ever since. You saw the video of his confession. He testified here in court. Once he decided to fess up, remember when he said the jig was over? He gave the details on the plan and the execution and the aftermath of that murder in 2017. After that,
He knows a lot, doesn't he, for
said
an
they asked him
innocent
to look at
guy?
videos.
Just
And yeah,
driving?
he said when he saw the videos, he initially identified himself and he kind of vacillated because he was scared. He thought, God, they have video of me too. He was shocked to see that. I submit to you that's sincere. That is believable testimony from Travis. Next one. Travis testified he did not know about this treehouse until the incident. He didn't even know where the treehouse was, and he'd never been there. All right, what corroborates that? Well, Paula actually corroborates that. In Paula's video deposition, she's asked, and you saw this is the perpetuated testimony. You saw this yesterday. Do you know Travis Johnson? No, not personally, no. Prior to the date of this incident, you never hung out with him? No. Associated with him? No. I don't know. Oh, have you ever even met John Johnson? I don't know how to answer that because he might have been the person that was there with Detroit, but I don't know for sure. Other than that, the only time I ever saw him was in the newspaper and, here. Have you ever identified him? No, sir. As that person? No. Next page. Have you ever seen John Travis Johnson with Matthew Bonnett? No, sir. Have you ever seen him with Crystal? No. Have you ever seen him with Roosevelt? No. Have you ever seen him with O'Quinn? No. Have you ever seen him hanging out with any of your friends? No. Have you ever personally seen him at the treehouse? No. It corroborates Travis when he says, I didn't even know where it was. I've never been there before. Paul is basically saying, I don't know who he is. He's never been over there. It corroborates Travis's testimony. Next one.
She sure did.
Okay, now let's go to the next one. Paula's all over the place. Some of her testimony, she seems to get right. She starts in 2017, and you saw
She seems to get right. She knows what happened.
She was at the hospital the night of the attack, and she's adamant. I can't identify that second person. At one point, I think she gets upset with Officer Malone, and she says, lady, I told you this 3 times. I can't ID him. I had a 250-pound gorilla on top of me beating the shit out of me. That was what she said.
Yeah.
She couldn't say anything about the second guy. Now,
But you guys charged him.
he's
not doing a very good job.
Paula testified that in the very few days right after the incident, they were at McDonald's on November 22nd. It's about 4 or 5 days after this incident. And the defendant testified to this yesterday. I saw Paula at McDonald's. We weren't friends, but we knew each other. I was feeling so bad and so sorry for myself for being interrogated for this thing all night. And he's scared and he's feeling sorry for himself, I guess. And I remember seeing Paula, this is his testimony. I remember seeing Paula and she had a bandage on her neck from the knife, right? And I remember seeing her and I was just like, all of a sudden I felt like, well, I'm trying not to curse, but I felt really bad. Here I am feeling sorry for myself, and then I see her. That was his testimony. Next one, please. Paula's deposition back in May of 2019. This would be what, about 2 years, almost 2 years after the event.
Good morning, Maxie.
Actually, he himself, Tucker, told me that when we were at McDonald's, he himself told me, oh, the police found a knife with blood on it. Because I said, oh, good, it would be my blood. And he said, no, it's Matt's. That confirmatory test didn't come from FDLE until months, years later. So how did he know that was going to be Matt's blood on the knife? He told Paula 4 days after the event. He told me they found a knife, and I said, oh, good, that'll have my blood on it. And he said, no, not going to be your blood, it's going to be Matt's blood. If he was passed out from his red balls or atom bombs or fireballs back at the warehouse, how does he know about that? How does he know Matt's blood's going to be on that knife? Because he was there. He knows where that knife went. It went into Matt's back. That's how he knows. He knows that knife is not the one that was used on Paula. He knows that knife is the one that was used on Matthew Bonnett. Remember, he brought the knife to that event. Travis saw the knife in his possession. So he confirms to Paula, no, that's going to be Matt's blood. And then she said, whether that was true or not, I don't know. He himself told me that while we were sitting at McDonald's, that the knife that the police found had Matt's blood. That's a quote from her answer. She said it at least twice. She was not mistaken about what she remembered him saying. And that's very telling. That's huge. Because nobody would have known. Even the detectives didn't know it was Matt Bonnett's blood on that knife at that point in time.
I'll sustain the objection to the extent, remember, folks, this is closing argument. Your decision and verdict is based upon the evidence in the law. And the counsel's giving a closing, which is not evidence. So with that, you can proceed.
Folks, you heard the testimony from Angela, our DNA expert. That's when we got the confirmatory results of the blood on the knife. That was long after, 4 days after this was a year, at least several months after the event. Tucker's telling Paula 4 days after the event whose blood is on the knife. Nobody knows that, sir, except the people that were there. Next one. Okay. Nobody would know that except the people that were there, and that's huge. Now, the defendant took the stand and he's been wrongly charged with this. That was his story. If you boil down his whole testimony, he started partying during Fantasy Fest and the party never ended. He said this is usually what he does this time of year. And on the day of this, he remembers drinking these fireballs and got so hammered he fell asleep, woke up, police were everywhere.
You ever drank Fireball, mister?
You know, for somebody that was that drunk, he remembers the details of coming down the steps with his hands up.
And they're done that.
Back when they committed the raid. He remembers bits and pieces of conversations, but for the most part, he was watching his friend's room, drinking, and passed out.
This girl can't do whiskey. Well, I
He remembers
can.
going to buy cigarettes. He throws that in there. Said he remembered feeling so bad for Paula at McDonald's. Didn't testify that he told her whose blood was on the knife. Again, how would he know that? Why did we put on the DNA analyst? Why did we put? Because we wanted you to know we did our jobs. We did our investigation. We submitted items for DNA testing. Sometimes you get results, sometimes you don't. On this particular submission, we got a result, a positive result for Wilson on the knife, and we got a slew of unconfirmed.
I don't know what that is.
Can either say yes or no.
Yeah.
As a result, as a regard Tucker.
Franky goes batshit crazy.
45 minutes.
45 minutes in, Judge?
Yes.
Very well.
I think they get an hour each. Do I understand that right with this particular trial?
Now, a couple of excerpts I want to underscore from late yesterday. And again, I got a good time slot today, fresh in the morning. Yesterday afternoon, I got up here and I read into the record statements that Paula had made during her deposition in May of 2019. And I want to do that timeline for you. So the event happened in November of 2017. And she's adamant, can't see this other person, had this big guy on top of me, just couldn't see him, stop asking me that. I've answered this 5 times. Now in May of 2019, she's still saying she can't ID the second person. I can't ID him. Not that I can identify. I saw another person, but I can't identify him. Can you describe him? No, because I had Rory Wilson on top of me. You initially said you believe the second person had a billy club. I think that was Rory. Did you see the second person with any weapons? I don't know. I couldn't see the second person until they were going down the steps towards Matt because I had Rory Wilson on top of me. Do you remember what the second person was wearing? Dark clothing, corroborating what Travis said.
Oh, wow.
You heard him say, I think we killed him. Now, she also talked about the McDonald's event. You recall seeing him at McDonald's? Did you know he had anything to do with it? No, ma'am, I did not, because I didn't know whether he had anything to do with it. I didn't even know that they all lived together.
I'm not a Dr. Pepper fan. I think it tastes like cough syrup.
Well, who told you he had something to do with it? Nobody told me. The police didn't tell you? Well, after they arrested him, yes. But not when I was having lunch at McDonald's, or I would have been nowhere near him. This was 4 days after. Are you sure he was involved? What kind of question is that? I told you I can't identify him. The person was wearing a mask. I can't say he had anything to do with it, and I can't identify him as being there one way or the other. Can't say he was there. Can't say he wasn't there. This is
not looking good for them.
And she goes on to say, actually, he himself told me at McDonald's that the police had found the knife with blood on it. And that's when he told me it was Matt's blood. He told me that while we were sitting at McDonald's. The knife that the police found had Matt's blood. Then there was a litany of questions about the scuffle between Roger and his assailant, which would be this defendant. Roger got thrown into a tarp. This is Paula's testimony. Remember what Roger testified to? I got thrown into some kind of a tarp. Paula says, I don't believe I said he was beating him. I was the one getting beaten. They had a scuffle, and you saw the second person holding a knife to Roger's throat? No, I didn't see that. You were told that? I was told that by Roger. That's why Roger wasn't helping me. Roger told her that the guy had a knife to his throat.
None of those points to him.
These are all corroborating bits of evidence from Paula that corroborate Travis's statements. Again, the devil is in the detail.
She keeps saying she didn't know.
Now,
and you
Paula
charged
also
this
makes
guy.
a comment that
Oh boy, oh boy.
at some point, Paula testified that a small knife fell from somewhere during the struggle. She thought it was Roger's knife, and she thought about grabbing it. So there was a second knife. One was on Paula's neck, and she saw another knife fall, a smaller knife fall. She thought it was Roger's knife, and she thought about grabbing it. So Paula herself introduces a second knife into this fracas inside the treehouse. The defendant grilled Officer Malone about her demotion from major crimes. Her demotion was not a demotion per se. She stepped down. The recommendation was she stepped down because she didn't want to do that work anymore. This was 2 years later.
Uh-huh.
There was no finding that the evidence in this case had been tampered with, altered, tailored, or fabricated. No evidence of that.
Okay, well, I'm going to overrule the objection. Again, this is argument, as I've explained.
No evidence of that. Malone testified she committed some policy violations, but that evidence itself had not been tampered, compromised, or manufactured, and there was no finding that it was. The DNA evidence, again, inconclusive for this defendant. Where was it inconclusive as for Tucker? On the blunt end of the knife, the right side of the forehead of the mask, inside wrist area of the shirt, and the black glove. Doesn't mean he didn't touch these items, just means they didn't have enough in the DNA profile to make that comparison. Mr. Tucker also called Travis a free man. You saw Travis. You saw him in the video. Travis is forever marked by what he got involved in here. He owns up to it. He'll wear it for the rest of his life. He's not a free man. He's a convicted felon. Convicted
That's
of
on the
serious
street.
charges. These will follow him, and he knows that. You saw him in the video. He was crying. He was upset. He was struggling because the gravity of what he had gotten himself involved in was setting in. Why believe Travis? I submit to you, you believe him because he's being truthful. Paula, you saw her on the night of the event, November of 2017. You've heard statements from her depot in May of 19. At some point in there, she does a trip to California because she's posting pictures of it. And now, at the perpetuated testimony in September and November of 20, now she's adamantly saying in her cross, it's not Tucker, it's not Tucker, it's not Tucker. Not until
Maybe he
September of
doesn't
20
match.
does that come out. What changed from the night of the event to May of 2019 to September of 20?
Maybe she would have
We know she was
recognized
friends with the
him and
defendant's
knew it
wife on
wasn't.
Facebook. She
Yeah.
mentioned that. They were talking up to 20 times a day. Paula went from living homelessly in a flop house to a trip to California.
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection.
Living in a flop house for homeless people with no water and no electric, to posting pictures of her trip to California. And then she appears for her perpetuated testimony and says it's not the defendant. It's not Tucker. Tucker wasn't the second guy. I can't say who it was, but it wasn't him. When she, at one point, told Officer Malone, I answered this question 5 times. I couldn't see him. I can't tell you. I can't even tell you if he was there or if he wasn't there. I didn't see enough of him. Now, new testimony. I submit you should take that testimony very cautiously, and you should reject it because it's simply not truthful. It has been tainted. Now, Law School 101, you're going to get a packet of jury instructions. You're going to get a packet of jury instructions that's going to give you all the law that pertains to this case. You're going to hear that the defendant was charged with first-degree felony murder because during the commission of a robbery, somebody died. The state has to prove that somebody died. I think that's fairly clean. That came from Dr. Steckbauer. Matthew Bonnett is dead. While engaged in the commission of a robbery, Tucker caused the death of Matthew Reed Bonnett. And then it's either or for the next element. Tyrone Tucker was the person who actually killed Matthew Reed Bonnett, or Matthew Reed Bonnett was killed by a person other than Franklin Tucker, but both Franklin Tucker and the person who killed Matthew Reed Bonnett were principals in the commission of the robbery. Principals in the commission of the robbery. I submit to you this defendant has been proven guilty of felony murder.
No way.
You're also going to
No
get
way.
what the law calls, hard to explain, lesser included charges, okay? Basically, what that's telling you is, if you don't feel that the evidence has proven the crime that's been charged, you could go down one level to what they call a lesser included crime. So for instance, on the first degree murder, A lesser included crime of first degree murder would be second degree murder. So if you don't feel that the state has proven felony first degree murder, you can consider second degree murder. For second degree murder, hold up, it's a lot here. Second degree murder, the state has to prove that Matthew Bonnett is dead. The death was caused by the criminal act of Franklin Tyrone Tucker, and there was an unlawful killing of Matthew Reed Bonnett by an act imminently dangerous to another.
There's
and
nothing that
demonstrating a
points to
depraved
him.
mind without regard for human life. Just so you know, the principal instruction carries to every charge. The principal instruction
Just
carries
under
to every
2
charge.
weeks,
And I'm going
yeah.
to read the principal instruction, except these are smudged again. There we go. Let me read the principal instruction to you. This is the law the judge is going to advise you need to follow. If the defendant helped another person or persons attempt to commit a crime, the defendant commit or attempt to commit a crime, the defendant is a principal and must be treated as if he had done all the things the other person or persons did. If the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the following: number one, the defendant intended the crime to occur. And number two, the defendant did some act or said something that was intended to and that did incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person or persons to actually commit or attempt to commit the crime.
You might get off, guys.
To be a principal, the defendant does not have to be present when the crime is committed. Judge, I would just ask if the defendant can return to the defense table. I'm not using any more video.
Okay, fair enough.
That principal
Gotta sit
instruction
down.
runs to every single crime. The defendant intended for the crime to occur. Did he intend for the robbery to occur? Of course he did. Of course he did. Did he act or say something that was intended to and that did incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person or persons to actually attempt to commit the crime or to actually commit the crime? Sure he did. He got in the truck that day, loaded for bear, went over to the treehouse, got out,
Did he?
went in with Wilson, committed the crime, active participant. He's a principal to everything that happens.
You
So
can't
is
put him
Travis.
there, buddy.
Travis
I
was
don't
a
see anything
principal.
that puts him there.
To be a principal,
Not
the
that they
defendant
came
does
up
not
with.
even have to be present when the crime is committed. And I asked Travis, if you'd have known, did you know anything about principal or felony murder? He said, no, I didn't. Would you have ever gotten involved in this? Never, if I'd have known that. Is he remorseful? It doesn't matter. I submit that he is, but his testimony is
I don't
supported
know.
by
I
the
think they got
evidence.
an hour each, so they might let him
Just a few more.
give his
Judge, how am I doing
spiel.
on time?
60 minutes, 8:59.
Okay.
Because I think they want them to have lunch. These guys have some paperwork to clear up. And
You know, this is a minor
this
point, but the
afternoon,
Cosme videos, the defendant
jury
spent a lot of time going
instructions
over the glare or
and
the light in the
deliberations.
front. If you watch the
This
video,
afternoon.
that glare never leaves that spot. That glare is coming from another location. If you watch the video, you can see the truck advance through that frame. When the truck advances through, there's a flash of light that I submit is the headlights of that truck.
Wouldn't that be
The
something?
video speaks for itself, and you folks will be more than
Wouldn't that be
free to watch that
something?
video as many times as you would like. All the evidence will be going back with you to
Go
the
get 'em,
jury
Dandy.
room, so you'll have a chance to review everything.
Get him
Rose
for me.
testified that a small knife fell from somewhere. She thought it was Roger's knife. So there was a second knife involved, one on her throat,
That'd be
and
awesome.
the other one she saw fall.
It's a
and
great
she thought
idea.
was Roger's. Only one knife was recovered, but there is talk of two knives being involved in that fracas at the treehouse that resulted in Matthew Bonnett's stabbing.
That's a great idea, friend.
Folks, at
I
this
don't know if
time,
there's a Facebook site for him, or I don't know how a person would get
I
a hold of
submit
him.
to you that Travis Johnson has been proven to be credible over and over again. His
Oh, yeah.
testimony is corroborated. by other testimony and by other videos and other pieces of evidence, the knife, the mask. Why should you believe him? Because he's corroborated. The devil is in the detail here. Paula, generally speaking, testifies to a lot. The biggest change in Paula's testimony is her transition from not able to identify anything to it's not Tucker. And they're such good friends now that you saw pictures where he was laying in her hospital bed. She's supposed to
I
have an
don't think
infectious
so.
disease.
I
He's
think
laying
they
there with his
can
tongue hanging out, no mask on. That tells you the kind of
give
friends
their
we have
version.
now. Roger Raggett, I submit to you, no one's going to tell that man to say anything that doesn't exist. I smoke, I drink, I think it was Bud Lights. I drink my Bud Lights and I smoke crack when I can. I go over to
I
Paula's.
agree, Dandy.
Paula sells it at the treehouse. Who supplies the party favors? She does. I don't bring it. But he goes over and smokes her crack, smokes her weed. That's what he's been doing for how many years? And mowing lawn at the golf course. That's who he is. But his testimony corroborates Travis. And it corroborates Paula. I submit that Roger Raggett, completely believable. Is he the kind of guy you would normally see?
Roger Rabbit?
Maybe not. Probably not. That doesn't mean he can't come in here and be truthful. That goes for all these witnesses. They might not be the kind of people you want at your Thanksgiving table. I don't know. But you're not here to judge their personal choices. You're here to judge the credibility of what they're telling you happened. And I submit to you that Travis Johnson, credible. Roger Raggett, credible. Paula,
I know.
hit and miss.
Right. That's what it sounds like.
At the end of the day, when you go back there and you talk about
That's
this
what it sounds like.
testimony and you watch these videos and you, by the way, you're allowed to read back on anything. If there's something that you would like to hear again, you can ask the judge to do that. You can ask the judge for whatever it is that would aid in your deliberations. You're free to communicate that with the court, and the court will do what they can to abide by your wishes. But at the end of the day, I submit to you that we have proven this case well beyond and to the exclusion of a reasonable
What do you
doubt.
guys think?
And I'm going to ask you to go back to that jury room and don't be afraid to find this defendant guilty and hold him accountable for what he did that night in November of 2017 to Matthew Bonnett, to Paula Belmont, to Roger Raggett.
Yeah.
Folks, I think.
Rabbit? I don't even know what he's saying. Roger Raggett? Well, I think that was piss poor. What do you guys think?
You're going to hear the defendant's closing argument in just a moment. I want to explain to you our schedule. I think it's important you understand why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. I would like to have all the closings finished before the lunch break. It's going to mean that we're going to have a little later lunch than what we're accustomed to, but I think it's important for there to be continuity and not have any major breaks between one argument and another.
That's fair.
We'll be taking a bit of a later lunch. When you get back from lunch, you'll hear the closing instructions and you'll have the case for your deliberations. What I'd like to do at the moment is to give you a 5-minute break. This is in the jury room. If anyone just needs to stretch or use the facilities, give you an opportunity before we go into another closing. So take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back to hear the defendant's closing.
Yeah, I don't see that they proved anything. Nothing came up. The DNA wasn't his. Even the woman who was attacked, she's like, no, it wasn't him. And he's like, wasn't me. He's looking pretty serial. It would be.
So that means
Yeah, it would be.
11:40. We'll be back, and we'll have just 5 minutes, 6 minutes. 11:40. We'll return.
There we go. Let them stretch. So yeah, they'll do this, and he's got an hour. The prosecution just had their hour. He'll get his hour, and then they get into lunch for an hour, and then they'll get their instructions and deliberations. So yeah, it would be pretty bad if they lost, but I don't know if it's pretty bad. It's just, what did they prove? I don't think they proved anything. I really don't. Nothing matched up. The only thing that they have is a guy that was in jail that made a deal to get out to testify against this guy. That's all they have. Hello, James. Good day. Eh? Good day. Eh? Hello, hello, hello. Were your ears ringing this morning? We were talking about trials that we used to do, and during the breaks that we would bring up the eagles and the panda bears, and your reaction to the panda bears every time. Oh my God, way too funny, way too funny. We just, through the break here, we played some of Tony's music, and yeah, pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we wondered if your ears were ringing. Dumb animals. Are the red pandas cool? Let me see. Oh my God. Oh, nice. What the hell? The endangered red panda is a small mammal native to the eastern Himalayas and southwestern China. A dense reddish brown fur with black belly and legs, white lined ears. Oh my God, an almost white muzzle with a ringed tail. Usually get to 28 to 48.5 centimeters and weighs between 3.2 and 15 kilograms. So 7 pounds to 33 pounds. Oh, they're gorgeous. They don't look anything like the other ones, but yeah, they're gorgeous. Yeah, pandas. When I was doing trials earlier, I don't know, must have been what? It's been a while. During the breaks, I would show panda videos and we'd just watch them be silly, right? And James, oh my God, he was funny. He'd grumble dumb animals and oh my God. That's James. There we go. This is it. They are so adorable. We played some of Tony's music through the break earlier. It was pretty awesome. Yeah. No, your reaction was the best part of it. So I will, after, oh, here, after we set this is done, I'll set up for the next stream, and we'll watch the jury instructions, and I'll end the stream, but I'll watch for notification if the jury does come up with something this afternoon. I don't think it should take them long with, I mean, if that's all the prosecution has, uh-oh. Ah, you like the Kung Fu Panda. I haven't watched that. Isn't that like animated? No, that's the thing. They look adorable, but they can be mean, I've heard. Yeah, I've heard they could be mean, and their claws are pretty big. Bears are bears. Yeah, that's what I thought it was, a kid's cartoon. Something along those lines. I wonder what the jury, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know how many men, how many women. I don't know age groups. Yeah, that's what they look like. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. It's that ring tail that kind of changes it, right? It's going to be interesting to see what Ty Tucker has to say next. So yeah, members live at, I'll have to move it up. Actually, I'm going to do that now. So I moved the members live up until 11 Mountain Standard Time. And then it doesn't interfere with. And we're back.
Everybody's back. Assume we got all the jurors in the
Yes, it is.
Bring it
Yeah,
up.
it is. Closing arguments. Tony. Yeah, yeah. The Eagle Cam was pretty cool. It really was. If I had my way, I'd have one of everything. Right? Okay, so it's going to be Ty Tucker now. 1 hour he has. I don't know why he's shaking his head though. Is he just like
So everybody can be
uncomfortable?
seated. We'll
I could see
wait
that.
for the remaining juror and make ourselves comfortable.
I would take a baby. Yes. Right, Dandy?
Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. Welcome back to the courtroom.
Hey, let's
members of the
go.
jury.
Oh.
Now the opportunity for the defendant to make closing argument. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
First, let me apologize to start off here. As you can see, I'm noticeably irritated, angry, upset.
Uh-oh.
And there's a good reason why. Mr. Mansfield up here corroborated, pounded that into your heads, right? Again, all Travis corroborated was his own story. That's it. Literally, all those details that he just handed out to you, the drawing the map, the I said this, I did that, all this stuff. Yeah, somebody was there who did the crime could actually tell you all those things. Makes sense. And he's saying that's the only thing that makes sense is that Travis is actually, believable. Okay, well, when I put myself on the stand yesterday, Mr. Mansfield didn't impeach my testimony once, not once. Did he say, prove that I lied anywhere in there? Then he goes ahead and he corroborates my testimony by saying, oh, you told the investigators the same thing 6 years ago. Yes, I did. And why I'm upset? 6 years ago. And after 6 years, the state comes up here with Travis said. That's why I'm here, right? That's what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mhm.
I got to say, yes, I am upset. I'm literally sick to my stomach right now.
Objection, Judge, to the improper argument.
Well, I will overrule the objection. If you're sick and need to take a
No.
break, sir, I'll
No.
certainly give you an opportunity.
I meant I'm sick, because I had to sit there and listen to this.
Okay.
Again, Mr. Mansfield even says in his argument, in his closing argument, 2 guys. That's what all the evidence says. That's what it said from the beginning. Go back to the corroboration. Again, Cosme video doesn't corroborate Travis's story. Even Detective Fernandez, who he brings up, says corroborates Travis's story, right? No, he doesn't. He says, when I asked him, can you see anybody in the truck? Can you see anybody, a getaway driver sitting in the truck? Fernandez says, no, you can't see anybody sitting in the truck. We went over that ad nauseum, right? Nobody's sitting in the truck. So that doesn't corroborate Travis's story. Do you see 2 people getting out of where the truck was? Sure. But what's to say that wasn't Travis? How's that end up being me?
Right.
That the prosecutor never says. Not once does he say how that becomes me. Anyway, so let's go on from there. We've got, Malone, Detective Malone. Now, here's the thing, another point that was making me very ill. The prosecution went ahead and they made sure that you didn't hear about the investigation, how it went.
Objection, Judge, improper argument.
And I will sustain that objection.
Okay. So, anyway, let's go here. I came here. I was living, right? I live in Oregon. That's where I live now. I didn't try and hide from this thing. I came here of my own free will, hopped on a plane, came down to Key West, right? Yeah, as Mr. Mansfield suggested, my wife is a multimillionaire. That's true. Absolutely. I could be standing in front of you with slick lawyers, that kind of thing.
Judge, improper argument.
I will overrule the objection.
Can we come sidebar?
Yes.
Unreal. Unreal. Are you serious? Are you serious? Oh, he wasn't married to her before, Tony. They got married while he was locked up. Well, they didn't get married. They hooked up while he was locked up. And she paid a $2 million bond to get him out. Oh, so what happened? Natural causes, or what happened with Roger Rogers?
Look, I put myself
Old
before
age?
you guys, and almost every piece of evidence the prosecution wanted to put in, I let them. I didn't object. Go ahead, put it in. Go ahead, put it in. Why? Because not any of that says I did anything. None of it. Now, he wants to go to the DNA results, and they want to use inconclusive as a positive, right? That's what they're trying to do. Now, inconclusive means exactly that, inconclusive. And then to boot, when he starts, talking about the sweatshirt and the gloves, these are things that weren't even recovered from the crime scene, don't have anything to do with the crime as far as we know, right? They were recovered from the warehouse. That's true. Somewhere's in there in the warehouse. They didn't put those into evidence. Those weren't found at the crime scene. They weren't found to have the victim's blood or DNA or anything like that on them. They're found to be in the warehouse. Again, that means nothing. going back to it again, looking at this, okay, what is it? Let's see. Oh, yeah. So he wants to say, again, Travis's story is corroborated, right? Again, the weapons. We go down to the weapons. Travis says, a pipe and a knife. Roger Ruggett, who he said is very believable, very credible.
Aneurysm.
Okay, he says
83
2
years
knives.
old.
That's what he says. Now, Paula does say something about a smaller knife later. That's true. And yes, she believes it's to be Roger Ruggett's, not one of the ones that was brought to the scene.
Yeah, aneurysm, it says.
Again, it was never put into
82
evidence as
years
something
old.
being found at the scene. So, okay, again, it's just trying to confuse and literally trying to dilute your minds with things that don't mean anything. None of this means anything. I go over, I was looking at all the witnesses that they brought, right? All these witnesses. Okay, yes, Dr. Speckbauer comes in and says that knife killed Matthew Bonnett, right? Okay, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. But what says, okay, what says I'm carrying that knife? What says that I'm using that knife? Nothing, right?
Nope.
That just says that, that knife was used to kill Matthew Bonnett, right? Okay, they bring the DNA expert. DNA expert says, you don't find my DNA anywhere on any item, anything that has to do with this crime. Again, the best they can pull out is inconclusive on some things that weren't even found in the crime scene. Now, again, I'm not trying to mislead anybody. I'm telling you guys, like I said, I put let them put in what they want, let them put up the testimony they want, anything they wanted. And this is the best they have. After 6 years, and yes, I'm angry. I'm not going to say I'm not. That would be a lie too. I get up there.
Agreed.
And again, I'm looking at this, was it?
Wow.
Was it? Didn't happen, didn't need to. All right, hold on. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is another one. Talks about corroboration. The clothes. I want to go back to the clothes that people were wearing. Travis's story. He takes us back to the warehouse. We go upstairs. We change into dark clothing. That's what he said. That's what he testified to. Paula, on the other hand, testifies that Rory Wilson's wearing the same clothes, and he actually uses this in his PowerPoint. That Paula testifies, wearing the same clothes she saw him in earlier that day. So where did he change clothes? Again, where'd that happen? Because if he's wearing the same clothes he's wearing that afternoon, then why isn't he in different clothes? Because Travis said he went up and changed. So how's that corroborated? It's not. Again, and then you talk about Travis's testimony, matching the other witnesses, matching the other evidence that's in this case, right? Travis tries to put the knife in my hands. Well, the DNA says differently. Now, again, how do you explain, again, you can say that, oh, well, he may have used gloves. Well, okay, no, again, Travis, he says he doesn't see anybody put on gloves. Nobody else says that either. Okay, so how does that happen? If the knife is in my hand and I'm committing a crime with it, it should have my DNA on it. That's that simple. They use that, for that crime. Again, and then go back to the felony murder thing and the whole idea of, you have to, it doesn't matter whether you participated or whether or not that you participated, that you actually killed the person. Well, he can't even prove any of that. You can't prove I was there. You can't prove that I actually committed any crime, that I actually did anything, that I even discussed a crime with them. You can't even prove that. He can't prove one element of his case, not one. And we'll talk about somebody who's being misleading, somebody who's trying to hide things. Okay, he wants to talk about, okay, what was it, the conversation I had at McDonald's with Paula, right? And how, I discussed how I had the knife and, not how I had the knife, but how I knew the knife was, it was Matt's blood on the knife, right? But then he doesn't want me to tell you about what interrogators talked to me about when I was down being grilled all night. What they actually told me.
Another sidebar.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my goodness. Feel free to throw your link up, Southern Gal. He's furious. What do you guys think? I don't think this looks good on the prosecution. Rudy Giuliani ordered to testify under oath in bankruptcy proceedings. I think that he's probably telling the prosecution to back off.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, again, you'll have to forgive me. It's upsetting.
Keep your voice up, please.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, I went down to the station. I was there all night. You have to, again, I can't tell you how the interrogation or the interview went. I can't tell you what they told me. I can't tell you anything about that. Which again, it is very frustrating.
Thanks, Dandy.
Not to be able to provide you with any of that information. I wish I could. And again, Mr. Mansfield also alluded to, nothing being tampered with, nothing, being, was it mishandled or whatever. Again, I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Judge, again, objection to the way he's stating this. There's no evidence of mishandling of evidence or
Again,
tampering.
In any event, we're going to, members of the jury, remember, this is closing argument, all right? And it's based upon the evidentiary record, and we're limited to the evidence, both sides, that is in the trial. Not beyond that, so Mr. Tucker can certainly make arguments pertaining to the evidence.
Yes,
okay.
It
In
is.
terms of rulings that the judge made,
Oh, he's mad.
for jurors' consideration.
And Your Honor, I would just submit that even by saying what he just said, it's again, you're going beyond stuff that's been admitted into the trial.
Well, but in any event.
But
just
I'll
continue with
watch
your
myself.
argument.
I'll watch myself. Again, let's go back to this. Okay, same clothes. Then the hoodie thing. Travis Johnson never mentions that once. I don't think anywhere in his testimony he ever talks about a hoodie. Hoodie, was it a hoodie thing with a hoodie mask or anything like that? Where that actually comes from is from Paula Belmont's, her testimony. That is there. I don't remember Travis Johnson ever once talking about a hoodie, but he does talk about a neck gaiter. He does talk about that, and the neck gaiter thing. Okay, he submits that, oh, it's good for covering up a beard, all this other stuff. It's like, okay, it's also good for covering a face. That's it, right? And you would think out of all these witnesses we've had, right? Some of them you heard, some of them you haven't, but the ones that you've even heard here. Okay, if you have a neck gaiter covering up your face with Jägermeister written all over it, you think somebody probably would have said that. Somebody would have identified that, right? But does anybody? No. They identify it as two skull masks. They identify it as a hoodie thing, depending on which way, what angle I guess they saw them from. I can't say, but I can say this. You would think that, Jägermeister all over your face would probably be something you could identify, I would think. Then we go back to this. It's like, okay, yeah, loves the word corroborated. Yeah, that was one. I couldn't believe corroborated. There's nothing corroborated here. Then he goes into the masks that, that Travis describes in the video. And again, that's not attributed to me at all. That is attributed to Rory Wilson again. Yes, Rory Wilson apparently wore this skull mask or a demon mask, whatever you want to call. Yes, it's fearsome. It's nasty. I'm not going to say it's not. I've seen it. But at the same time, it's not something that's who's saying I'm wearing. It has nothing to do with it, right? So, okay, then you've got the knife. Again, going back to that. Travis had a nice knife collection. Again, I can't testify as far as for Travis, but what I can say is he could describe that knife in great detail, down to ball bearings in it. Yet it's supposed to be my knife. Now, if it's my knife, how do you get in such great detail? I just, again, it doesn't make sense as far as that goes. I mean, the guy, he sits there and he can describe every little detail of this knife, but he's going to try and say it's mine. I can't do that. I couldn't do it back then. I can't do it now. So, again, I don't understand that. Let's see. We got into the, Travis saying that Rory was with that mask, but then he tries to attribute it to me. Knife, great detail. Okay. And, oh, yeah. Hold on a second. Oh, no, we got that one too. Okay. So, he also makes a big point to talk about what they don't know. Right? Okay, which seems to be a lot, right? Again, you look at all the evidence in this case. Like I said, I can go down the witnesses. I can go down all the evidence in this case. There's not a single thing that says I did anything other than Travis Johnson. That's it, right? And Danielle Malone, based on Travis Johnson, right? She admits that on the stand. Her story comes from Travis Johnson. Okay. Well, again, talk about credibility-wise. And, he did try and say that Travis threw out my name without being told by Captain Phelps. That's not true either. If you watch that video when you go back in there, that's not true. What she does is says, if I remember correctly, it's we all know who the asshole in this story is, right? Again, and then he replies back, is it Ty? That's not him coming out and saying, Ty, Ty's the one who did it. That would be a strong statement. That would be, okay, Ty did it. No, is it Ty? Because he's looking to please Captain Phelps. Now, that's another thing. I did put in the whole Captain Phelps video with Travis, right? So I could show you where that whole getaway driver story came from. She literally tells him the entire story. He parrots it back. All he says is, yeah, that's what happened, right? Now, the details after that, of course he knows the details. He was there. He can go ahead and draw a map. He can go ahead and tell you, man, there's two guys getting out. And he can tell you all that stuff. Why? He's there. That's simple. I mean, again, nothing that says I was there. It just says he was there. Right? So, okay, you got that. And, the whole parroting back thing, yes, there are things in that. And I knew when I put that video on there, yes, there's some testimony in there that makes me sound horrible. But again, when you listen to that testimony, but April Walker, she's not here to testify. There's a good reason why. Captain Phelps, who headed the investigation, right? Headed the investigation. The one that's in that video. She's not here to testify. There's a good reason why.
Violation of Halliburton.
Okay, I'll sustain the
And ask
objection.
for a curative.
Well, you're going to have to approach and
Oh my God. This is the third time that they've interrupted him. I don't think that's a good look. Makes it look like they're hiding something.
members of the
Ooh,
jury.
look at how red his face is, even his head.
Any mention of Penny Phelps not being here to testify in this trial?
That's what I think too.
Okay, you can continue.
Okay. Go back to Roger Roget. Prosecutor again comes up and he wants to say that, I did like this and I go like this. It's Roger Roget, he's talking about the height of the person who actually attacked him, right? Well, unfortunately for the prosecution, Travis is pretty close to the same height as I am, almost, pretty close. And yes, I don't think Roger Ruggett, again, I think he is a credible witness. I don't think he's lying one bit, and when I asked him if he knew my name, I asked him that because, okay, in the report that they used to get me here, yes, it says specifically that Roger Ruggett said I, within my name, did this. Roger Ruggett said he didn't say that, right? He didn't say that, but that was what was in the report.
Objection, Judge.
Wow.
Facts not in evidence.
I believe there was some examination of that report, so I'll overrule.
Like, what are they doing?
Objection.
And yes, the report was also used by Danielle Malone when she gave her testimony. So, when she was doing the video. And we go back to Danielle Malone now. Again, we could probably go all day on that. But Danielle Malone, she testified she was what? The fourth investigator down on the hierarchy here. And again, you heard yesterday when I asked her about Anthea Clay, right? And in their own words, yes, Anthea Clay was a suspect. Anthea Clay was never tried to be apprehended. They tried that. Matter of fact, again, we asked plenty of times about Anthea Clay, but again, we find her 2 years later. Guess where she is? 2 doors down from the crime where she was.
Okay, I'll sustain that
That's not
objection.
Okay.
I will sustain
God.
the objection. Your deliberations in the argument are limited to the evidence that was presented.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, in the evidence presented, you saw the video with Paula Belmont in the hospital. And yes, Paula did change her story many times. She won't deny that. There were different reasons for that because Paula Belmont did testify in the perpetuated testimony that her discussions with Detective Pitcher over and over again. Yeah, there was a time she questioned whether or not I did it. And that's understandable when the police are telling you that. She testifies to that in that perpetuated testimony. So yes, she does waver on her testimony. And then the video we saw yesterday at the hospital, this woman, okay, she had just gone through this crime, right? And she's being questioned in the hospital. And yeah, I mean, there's some things she's saying in there that definitely could be misconstrued. When I played that one in the very beginning, it almost makes it sound like she's saying Todd is dead, which Todd was the guy who goes and runs up the hill and, gets the 911 caller, but it makes it sound that way. Right. But the one thing she is very clear about this. Anna did this. Anna is the one who set this up. Anna is the one who wanted me beat up. She tried to do it with other people. Melissa Damas. She tried to do it with Crystal Dinklocker. Literally tried to set this crime up with other people.
Dinklocker?
Right? But yet she doesn't rise to the level of a suspect. Now, I know I'm not allowed to talk about, the investigation or anything like that. But again, you got the question is, okay, this is a homicide detective, right? She's supposed to be investigating this crime. And yet that doesn't rise to the level of a suspect. So that is questionable. Again, her testimony as an expert, or was it not expert?
I think so too.
Experience in her training is what she says. Due to my experience and my training, I can identify this in this video. When we played the video for you guys, you can't see anything in there. You can't see anything except shadows, and you can't identify a single person in there. Yet they want to say it corroborates Travis's story. Okay, yes, Travis drove the truck there. I believe that all day. I believe that they probably went around, once, trying to case the joint, trying to figure out, if there's anybody watching, whatever, But I also believe Travis and Rory got out of that truck. And I believe Travis went and committed this crime. Now, Travis, yeah, when I did my my cross on Travis, you saw how he went from being the sweet, innocent, getaway driver to, again, he was highly agitated. I guess that's the best way I could put it. But again, I was a little nervous there for a second. I'm not gonna lie. But the thing is okay. So again, his story changes and vacillates, which that was another one. The whole vacillating thing. We went through that, and I actually asked him specifically. I was like, okay, does that mean you're not telling the truth? Does that mean you're lying? Is that a fancy way of saying, I actually had to look up what the word meant. I didn't even know. But yet the prosecutor and Travis both use this word repeatedly. Vacillating. Oh, I was vacillating. You were vacillating. Okay. It's a fancy word for saying lying, right? And he
I'm going to overrule the objection.
And he admits it the next day when he comes in to finish his testimony. He comes back here and immediately, when Mr. Mansfield puts him on redirect, he comes back and he says, were you not telling the truth? And he finally says it. He finally says, no, I wasn't telling the truth to begin with. He wasn't. That's true. He wasn't telling the truth. I think you guys can figure that out. I don't need to tell you what, the difference between vacillating and lying. You can figure that out for yourselves. But no, he did not tell the truth when he first got in there, right? Hasn't told the truth since, but he wants you to believe him now. Now he's credible, right? Now he's credible. But again, you're talking about the deal again. This man is getting off a life sentence. He's getting out of his part of this crime, by saying that I did this. That's what it boils down to. He's trading my life for his. And yeah, he got a hell of a deal, 5 years. That's what he got, the time he did in jail. And all he has to do is testify against me. Now, again, I get up there, I tell my story. You may not like me. You may not like my lifestyle, anything like that, anything like that. But it doesn't mean I did this, and I got out there and I told the truth. Told it, as I can remember, as much as I can remember the truth and as much as I'm allowed to tell, because I'm not allowed to say everything. I wish I could. But no, I get up there and I tell my story, and Mr. Mansfield comes up here, and if you look at the questions he asked me, were they about the crime? They weren't about the crime. He pulls out a picture of me with my beard. Look at this guy. Oh, he was staying at Cots. Like that makes me, that makes me a murderer because I'm staying at Cots. How does that play into it? He asked me all these questions that none of them really have anything to do about the crime. It's literally trying to, again, I look, a certain way, I live a certain way, or I live someplace. Again, what's that have to do with anything other than trying to confuse you to the facts? The facts are pretty simple. He even says, everything says two people. Everything in this crime, it says two people except Travis. That's it. And if I'm Travis, yeah. And Captain Phelps goes ahead and tells me, this story. Let me tell you a story, because you're the driver and you picked them up, you drove them down there. They got out, they did this. Yeah, and you're right. He didn't know about felony murder when he's given this story. He's fully believing that Captain Phelps is going to take care of him. That Captain Phelps is going to make sure that he doesn't get charges on this crime. That's what he's believing. That's true. But again, he doesn't know about felony murder. So now he's tagged with that, right? Well, now the only way to get out of that is to give you somebody else. That's it. And I am upset. I am very upset. I can't tell you how much. This cost me 6 years so far. Anyway, so let's see. We're going back to Paula's testimony. We went through the consistency on that. Again, when she's in the hospital, she's in a state of, again, she's just gone through this horrible crime. She just saw her friend get killed. And yeah, we don't know if she's on medications. We don't know anything about it other than, yes, she's says one thing, and at this time she says something else when she gets, again, a chance to think about it, actually calm down, maybe not be on meds, and actually think about things. Mr. Mansfield, again, you want to talk about bringing up things that don't mean anything. Okay, yes, Paula and I become friends, and yes, she takes a trip to California, and you allude to her lifestyle, but she was staying at Cots or something like that, but now, but then tries to throw in the fact that I have a wealthy wife. What's that have to do with anything? Has nothing to do with anything, but yeah, he's going to throw that in there. I mean, again, this whole corroborates thing. What corroborates Travis's story? That's what you got to look back at. What really does, other than his own testimony, other than the police he told, right? He told his story to the police. Now, whether or not they wanted to believe it, that's up to them, you know, but at the same time, it's the only thing they're using against me. That's it. And when he had his chance, he has me up on the stand. He can ask me anything he wants. And yet, not one thing proved I was lying. Not one. And then he asked me again, you know, going back to the police station. Did you tell the same story 6 years ago? Yes, I did. My story hasn't changed. Unlike Mr. Mansfield said, Travis's story hasn't changed the whole time, but I watched it change on the stand. Literally, it went from one day it was this and the next day it's that. But mine hasn't changed over 6 years, and I haven't taken a deal. I haven't taken a deal to do anything because, again.
Objection, Judge, and proper argument.
Okay.
Sustain the objection.
All right, let's see. You know, okay, and that's the other one. Travis says he goes to get cigarettes on the video for Florida Keys Electric. Who's to say that's true? Who says that's true? Because me personally, you know what I want to, you know what I would actually submit? Again, if he just committed this crime with Roy Wilson, he's going to go up to, to the Tom Thumb to get cigarettes? Or is he going up there to check out what happened and where Rory is? You know, because I mean, you left Rory behind supposedly, right? Well, wouldn't you kind of wonder what happened if you were him? Wouldn't you want to go check it out? Make sure that, you know, did Rory get busted by the police? Is he going to be talking? Who knows? I don't know. I know he came back with Rory Wilson. I do know that. I know they don't have me on video doing anything, not a single thing. Right? No physical evidence, right? So there's no physical evidence putting me there. There is no video evidence putting me there. There is no forensics evidence putting me there. Nothing puts me there committing this crime, right? Nothing actually puts me even, you know, again, if you want to talk about, you know, the definition, I looked up the definitions, you know, that we have for, you know, felony murder and all, and the other charges. I don't even have to be there, right? But okay, what's to say I had anything to do with it, even if I wasn't there? There's nothing saying I actually, you know, sat here and conspired with those guys. No, it says that at all, right? And again, for as much as Mr. Mansfield doesn't like my story, he hasn't shown anything that says it's wrong. So, okay, you know, and when you talk about who's going to be believable, yes, and okay, Paula Belmont, yes, she does eventually realize that it was, you know, again, that voice did not match mine. And it may have been because we became friends. I don't know, right? I really don't. I'm not her. I can't tell you that. But I do know that, yes, she realizes that that was not the same voice she heard, right? Okay, like I said, I can't speak for her, you know? As far as, you know, and you know, as far as Paula's friendship and my friendship, I told you yesterday on the stand how that happened. You know, and yeah, when I couldn't talk to her and she was telling that, you know, telling that stuff to the press, you don't think it sat there. And I mean, I'm looking at this woman and I'm like, she doesn't owe me a thing, not one thing. And she's up there telling the media this stuff. And yeah, it was hard to sit there and watch that and not be able to talk to her. And you want to know the first thing I said to her? First thing I said to her is, you're an idiot. That's what I told her.
Objection, Judge, facts not
All right,
evidence.
we'll sustain the objection.
Anyway, so to suggest that Paula has any motives other than, again, trying to give what she knows about this crime. Matt was her friend too. Now, I'm not her only friend. Matt was her friend for a very long time. And if she thought I had anything to do with it, she did testify to this. What was the words? I could burn in hell like the other two. Yeah. She's, you know, so no, the thought that she would actually be in that picture with me, making funny faces at the hospital. Do you really think she would be doing that if she thought I had something to do with this? It's like, it's insane. And maybe that's why I am so angry. It's like, it is insane to think that, you know, I go through 6 years and this is what they bring you. And this could be anybody. It doesn't matter. You know, I just happen to be the guy. You know, I happen to be the guy that's the one they want, right? Okay, and it's, you know, oh, we can get this guy to say he did it. Okay, I don't even see the logic in that. If you've got, going back to the backpack, he saw me running down the street with this backpack and I got things fumbling out of it and all that other stuff. Am I found with the backpack? No. He comes up with a story about, you know, how it's mysteriously ends up in his trunk, but he never tells you anything other than that. He doesn't say I put it there. And sure enough, I mean, again, I didn't. He says I helped him, but there again, there's nobody who saw that either, right? Nobody can prove that. Nobody was there to see it, but that's what he says. So it must be true, right? No, actually what is true though, is he had that backpack up in Big Pine. And yes, it was part of the crime. And according to, again, Danielle Malone, it was not just thrown into a closet. It was actually placed up underneath of an air conditioner, right? Not like you just threw it in there. It meant like, more like you meant to hide it. Now, again, because Travis tries to say, I'm the one, right? I'm the one who had it. No, I'm not. And I keep on going through all these things that he says corroborates this stuff. I'm sorry, bless you. You know, and then, okay, he says he wasn't shown those videos. You know, he wasn't shown the Cosme videos until after his confession, right? Or no, yeah, he wasn't shown until after his confession. Yeah, it's true. He gave a confession, but he doesn't actually talk about the different things in the videos until after they show it to him. He confesses he was there. He takes, oh, I'm the getaway driver. Yes, just what you said, Captain Phelps, I'm there. You know, I'm the getaway driver. He says that he confesses to, but he doesn't give the details until after he sees the videos. That's what happens after that. You know, because I mean, there's a difference between the confession and the videos. So, okay, then we go back to the vacillated thing. I mean, we already covered that. And let's see. Oh, that was another one.
I agree.
You know, the prosecutor liked using Paula's statements when he wants you to believe they're true. But then he, you know, again, when they're about me, when they actually have something to say about me, then they're not true, right? So it's only true if it backs up the prosecutor's story, not mine, right? But I will say this, is Paula did say that she wasn't sure, but Travis could have been the guy who was with Rory Wilson earlier that day when they came over in the afternoon. She says that. And she wasn't sure. She didn't know Travis. I mean, you know, that part everybody agrees to. And could she identify, you know, positively identify him? Not at that time, right? But she does say that it could have been, could have been Travis. So yeah, Travis may have been at the treehouse earlier than the prosecutor suggests. You know, then we go back to, let's see. And you got to forgive me. I am not as polished as the prosecutor. I'm not a lawyer. I think we did this when we did Boyd Dyer. I'm not a very good, you know, I'm not the best public speaker or anything like that. But I did come here, you know, and yeah, I thought it was important that you see me for me. You know, I don't know, you know, I don't know if that's smart or not. I do know it was very frustrating.
I like it.
I'm not the best. And you know, but we're almost at the end here, guys, as far as things go. Yeah, we already did this as far as, I haven't been able to tell you the whole story, and that kind of.
Objection, Judge, to this line of questioning.
Well, it's not questioning, and
Sustain the objection to that
okay.
argument.
Well, I would suggest this, that yes, as you know, as we can see, I don't want it to seem like I'm being untruthful just because I can't say something.
Objection, Judge, improper bolstering.
Sustain the objection.
Okay. Okay. We got the Paula says the knife is Rogers. And yeah, you know, again, it's hard for me because he wants to talk about, you know, my conversation with Paula.
Improper argument, objection.
I believe he's referring to the McDonald's.
Yes, I was.
Okay, so we'll overrule the objection. So go ahead.
I was talking about that, and going back to that again, the prosecutor submits to you, there's no way I could have known whether or not Matt's blood, whether it was Matt's blood, Paula's blood, whoever's blood on the knife. But again, I was there for, I don't know, it was a long time being interrogated all night. That's all I can say. I was there for a long time. And yes, I came into contact with people who knew things that I don't. So submitting submitting to you that there's no other way I could have known that is very misleading. And that's what look, when you guys go back there, I do think we made a great choice as far as the jury. I do. We've tried to find people who are going to look at this and look at the evidence. And when you go back there and you look at the evidence, don't believe my words, don't believe his words, I guess. Look at the evidence and see what it says. The evidence in this case, I'm not, maybe, again, you don't have to like me. You don't have to think I'm, I don't even, you may think I'm the biggest.
Objection, Judge,
whatever.
to the pandering.
Well, I'm going to overrule the objection.
Anyway, what I'm asking you to do is just look at the evidence. That's it. Look at what it says. And if it says that, I did something, if you think that, man, I did something based on that evidence, okay, fine. But if you're going to, again, I look at it now and I'm like, really? It comes down to whether or not you believe Travis. That's what it comes down to. And whether or not you believe me, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what to think. This whole corroborating thing, that's for you to decide. It really is. Do you think that evidence actually says I did something? If you don't think it did, then man, I would submit that's reasonable doubt. I don't see where there isn't reasonable doubt in here, but that's not for me to decide. I know what I did that day. I know what I didn't do that day. You guys don't. So I'm going to have to trust you. I'm going to have to trust that you're going to look at the evidence, you're going to look at the videos, you're going to look at all this stuff. And then you're going to decide. I can't tell you what to think. But what I can tell you is, I can tell you that it's not as the state would suggest. State, they say they've made their case, they proved every element of their case. How is that proof? How's one man's word against another? How's that proof? So I don't know.
James.
Like I said, I'm not going to give you a whole big slick speech, but one of the things I was talking about the lawyers, whether or not I needed lawyers, and maybe I did. I don't know, but I'll tell you this: I felt the truth doesn't.
Objection, Judge.
Overrule the objection.
I felt like
Sidebar?
Yes.
So this is the third sidebar they've had during his testimony, like during his closing arguments. I don't know how that looks either. It's not a good look for them either. Yeah. Be done. Sit down. Oh my God, you guys. I don't think it looks good either if the prosecution keeps bitching and whining either. He's rambling on way too much in my opinion, but I don't think either side's really got a good look through this. Can't say this, can't say that. He needs to sit down. Let's get this done. Oh, James. Oh, look at them. And that big guy just kind of smiles like, we're so good here. We're so good.
Right back to that. Look, I told the truth. I gave you guys everything everything you can need as far as what they want to bring. I didn't object very much. It didn't stop them from putting things in.
Your voice up, Mr. Tucker.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
So again, I gave you as much as the prosecution wanted to show, right? And while I didn't put on the defense I wanted to, I didn't. But there are reasons for that too, and I can't talk about them either. But here's the one thing, and I'm going to leave this at that. You know, I'm not going to sit up here and go over through everything again and just rehash this stuff. What I am going to tell you is that Mr. Mansfield said, "Don't be afraid to find me guilty." Right? Don't be afraid of it. And what I would submit is that you should be afraid not to find me guilty. That part, no. But you should be afraid that, man, any single one of you could be right where I am.
Objection, Judge. Golden rule violation.
I'll sustain that objection.
Well, apparently I need to study up on my closing arguments, but I think you guys got the point. There's no evidence in this thing. We've already talked about that. Every single witness they brought, not a single one says anything other than Travis or Danielle Malone, who is basing it off Travis. So, Paula, you can believe Paula or not believe Paula. That's up to you. I mean, I can't tell you what to think. I can tell you that, yes, she did vacillate, to use the prosecutor's word, between different time periods, and there's reasons for that. It's not like, it's not like this whole thing hasn't had things that have happened in between, right? But anyway, I am trusting that you're going to go back.
Is that in Discord?
Based on the evidence like we talked about, and I did tell you at the very beginning when we did voir dire, I was like, there's this presumption of guilt, and now people have a tendency to think you're guilty, right off the rap, and yeah, the presumption of innocence is hard. It really is. But does the prosecutor prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt? I don't think so. I don't think there's any way they proved it beyond a reasonable doubt. Other than that, I gotta say, I think you know how I'd probably be feeling.
Thanks, Dandy.
The best I got is, we put on a case, and they put on a case, and all I'd say is all that show and all that thing you see, as far as putting it up in PowerPoint, not a single thing that was up there couldn't be explained by Travis being the guy who was there. That's it. Simple. It made it very complicated putting me into this thing. But now, two people, it's real simple. That's what the evidence says. It says two. All the witnesses say that. All the evidence says that. So it's up to you guys to decide. I'd just like to thank you for taking the time, and for listening and for paying attention, seeing what this is. But at that point, I don't think I have anything to add. I wasn't coming up here with a speech. I just was going to come up here and discuss what happened. Anyway, I thank you for your time, and like I said, I hope you guys can just go back there, look at the evidence, and look at it for what it is. See it for what it is. But other than that, thank you for putting up with me, putting up with this. But I think I'll go ahead and let you guys decide. So, thank you.
Wow. What do you guys think? He talked too much, but did he make any points?
Opportunity to make a rebuttal argument. You have up to.
If we just have a 5-minute break before we start.
I don't really think so. I think we have 28 minutes that is max that you have. So,
Thank you, Judge. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'd like to thank you for your patience and courtesy and attention during the course of this trial. Your participation in this process is both important to the state of Florida and to also Mr. Tucker. Now, my colleague, Mr. Matthew, said, devil is in the details. And I'm going to stress that fact and just highlight a couple of different things to rebut some of the things that Mr. Tucker tried to represent to you. I would submit to you respectfully, there's a big difference between not being able to ID a second guy and years later saying it wasn't Mr. Tucker that was involved. There's a huge difference in that. The judge at the end of this case is going to give you some instructions, and one of those instructions deals with weighing the evidence. It's going to tell you it is up to you to decide what evidence is reliable. You should utilize your common sense in determining which evidence is the best evidence and which evidence should not be relied upon. Again, the devil is in the details.
Why'd they want another 5-minute break?
What is the motive for Travis Johnson to come onto this witness stand and point the finger at this defendant, Mr. Tucker? Correct, Travis Johnson was there. Travis
Get away from
Johnson
extra charges himself.
to this robbery that went bad, that turned into a murder that resulted in the death of Matthew Bonnett. Travis Johnson's statement has been consistent since 2017. Travis Johnson also told you this defendant was involved in this case. That is uncontested. Again, devil in the details. Anthea Clay. This defendant, Mr. Tucker, keeps stating Anthea Clay. She's a murder suspect. They never investigated. Deputy Malone, on the other hand, said she was a person of interest. We never had enough corroborating evidence to go and put her or place her or involve her in this crime. Devil in the details. Let's talk about the motive for Travis Johnson. He didn't have a motive. He had no bad blood with this defendant. They used to hang out. They used to drink together, do crack cocaine together, smoke marijuana together. However, the defendant states, my colleague, Mr. Mansfield, never impeached me one time. Well, I would submit to you respectfully that he did get impeached. Okay? The defendant was asked from the witness stand, Travis Johnson, Mr. Johnson, go ask Mr. Johnson. He told the police, actually the sheriff's department, go ask Mr. Johnson, he'll back up my story. Did Mr. Johnson back up his story? As a matter of fact, this defendant from the witness stand specifically stated that he was upset with Travis Johnson because he didn't back him up. Devil's in the detail. Paula Belmonte, that's a tough job that you have once you go back there. Many different statements from 2017 to the present. Couldn't ID the defendant. Only saw him from the side of his face. Don't know if it was him. Not Travis. Not sure if it was Travis Johnson, but I know definitely it was not Tyrone Tucker. Okay, well, I'm here to submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, the most damaging piece of evidence in this case is the conversation that Paula Belmonte testified to or was read into the record by Mr. Mansfield. And that is the conversation that she had with this defendant at the McDonald's the day after he was interviewed by the sheriff's department. They sat at the McDonald's and ran into each other by chance after he walked from the sheriff's department with slides on that were given to him. Runs into Paula. He went there, remembered to use the Wi-Fi. He runs into Paula. They start talking about the crime. Paula tells him what's happening, and he's feeling really, really bad for her. But he informs her, hey, the sheriff's department found the knife, or they found the knife, and she was really happy to hear that. And she said, oh my God, that's great. It has my blood on it. What does this defendant tell Paula Belmont? No, it had Matthew Bonnett's blood on it. We know the Monroe County Sheriff's Office didn't provide that information because this defendant.
Objection.
Well, I'm going to sustain that objection because that's not facts and evidence. They can certainly make an inference, but to suggest absolutely that's the case.
Restate. We know for a fact that it was proven on this defendant's examination of Angela Oslowski that the DNA results on the knife did not come back until months after that meeting in McDonald's. So I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen,
I will overrule that objection. That was within my previous ruling. The last argument stayed within, so I'll overrule that objection.
Again, devil in the details, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. How would this defendant know to tell Ms. Belmonte whose blood was on that knife? I would submit to you, using your common sense, as the judge is going to instruct you in a minute, it was because he was there. It was because.
I'm sorry to interrupt. sidebar.
He rolls his eyes after they just did it a kabillion times when he was giving his argument. Like, what?
Permission to proceed, Your Honor. Yes. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, devil's in the detail. Your common sense has to beg the question, how did Mr. Tucker know that Mr. Bonnett's blood was on the knife? I would submit to you, utilizing your common sense and your life experiences, because he was there. Either he stabbed Mr. Bonnett, and at the very least, he participated in this crime. That's the only way, deducing this evidence, that he could have made that statement to Ms. Belmont the day after he was not taken into custody by the sheriff's department. Now, Travis Johnson, let's talk about Travis Johnson. His statements in this case, his confession in this case, to the participation in this robbery and this murder were made literally years before he ever struck a deal with the state of Florida. Okay, and I think it's very important to note, as my colleague highlighted, okay, he made a confession and then was shown the corroborating videos. He wasn't provided the details of what happened. He filled in the blanks, as Mr. Mansfield highlighted. He gave a statement in November of 2017, and that deal that he struck with the state of Florida was not entered into until April of 2022. No evidence whatsoever has come from that witness stand that indicates that the sheriff's department or any other law enforcement gave him any information in this case. I know we talked about this on jury selection, and I know Mr. Mansfield went over it quite at length. It's, sometimes in these cases, it's not about the quantity of evidence, but the quality of the evidence. The evidence that comes from in the form of testimony from that witness stand and the corroborating exhibits of evidence that you have seen and can still have an opportunity to review if you choose to do so. Judge, may I have a moment? Yes. The defendant in this case, during his closing statement, asked you not to believe the statements that the state played for you at the hospital the night of the incident. She may have been under the influence of narcotics. Maybe her memory wasn't clear. I would submit to you, using your common sense, her memory would have been more accurate closer to the event than years later. If you really look at all her statements throughout the life of this case, through the life of these crimes, it has been consistent, but for, at the end, she says it wasn't Ty Tucker. At the end, she never said that in any of her other previous statements. Again, the devils are in the detail. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would submit to you the details in this case point to Franklin Tyrone Tucker as a person who robbed, murdered, or at least participated in the crimes that you've heard here. And I would submit to you, when you get the instructions of law from this judge and you utilize your common sense in weighing the evidence and evaluating the evidence in this case, you will have one verdict and one verdict only, and that verdict will be guilty as charged. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, members of the jury, for your attention throughout our a little bit longer than usual morning session. But as I explained to you earlier, I thought it important for you to be able to hear the closings from everyone uninterrupted, which we've now accomplished. And I'm going to give you a lunch break until 2 o'clock. You know, all the usual instructions that I've given throughout, they still apply. I'm going to spend a little more time with the lawyers during that hour and 15 minutes which intervene. But when you come back, you're going to receive the closing instructions from the court, whereupon you can begin your deliberation. So enjoy your lunch, 2 o'clock, and we'll go from there.
Okay, guys. So we will be back in it's about an hour and 15. And we will take a look at jury instructions and then into deliberation. Yes, facts, not feelings. Well said. And then at 10 past the hour, we do have a members live.
So I believe our understanding was that over the lunch that the state was going to make the changes to the jury instructions that we discussed during the charge conference. So that would mean to me that we need to get here, what, 20 minutes, 15, I don't know how long it's going to take you to do this, and I don't want to create unnecessary time pressure.
Judge, I don't think that it's going to take that long. I gave the corrections to Ms. Malcolm. She's already been working on. I think I just have to draft up the ag assault and the pro se instruction for that.
So if we come back at 1:45, that ought to give us 15 minutes to review.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we'll have packets for
the court and one for Mr. Tucker. Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll be back at 1:45.
Okay, guys, so I will set up the next stream. And members, I will see you in about 20 minutes. Okay, guys, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.